everybody. My name is Josie. Thank you so much for being here. This is the Josie Show, where I talk about my journey gaming from scratch. As I was 24, I believe, when I first started playing video games ever. And so that's a little bit about what this TV show is around, or about what this show is around. And you can check out our last episode from last week in the collection, where we have Nader, my boyfriend, who is a huge gamer, huge streamer. He's the reason why I got into this. And he's going to come on and tell us more about his journey, how he got into it. And yeah, throughout this show, we're gonna have multiple guest stars, some that are a little bit famous, especially in the Apex community. So can't wait to bring them on and give you guys some more insight on gaming in general as a female, maybe how to get your career started as one, and just gaming in general. So let's go ahead and bring Nader on, and we'll continue our conversation from last time.
Hello.
Hey,
how are you doing tonight?
Welcome back. I am good. How are you?
I'm good. So last time on the show, when we were talking, we kind of went through everything that I had done and finished at the end of my, at the time, career. So I basically stopped gaming about 2 years ago on the dot. I started gaming basically at the age of 2, but I started playing PC games, a mouse and keyboard. A lot of people start playing on controller or Nintendo, those games. So I was a little bit off the curve and did that. And I had been gaming for years and years. I thought as a young kid, gaming was really cool and competitive gaming was interesting, but I didn't think it made enough money. So I didn't think of making it into a career. I get into college and then streaming blows up. All of these content pages on YouTube and TikTok start blowing up. And I start realizing, holy crap, now there's so much more money in this. So I wanted to give it a shot at actually competing and putting myself out there. So because of my college, I was part of the esports program there. And so I competed for Counter-Strike, Apex, and Fortnite and PUBG for my university. And then from there, graduating college, I started competing at a higher level, playing against top tier teams, and eventually ended up getting into Twitch Rivals and competing through Twitch Rivals stuff. And that had ended up me where I am today. And yeah, so through everything, it's been a lot of my focuses were on shooter games, and I've kind of been through the works of it for over 20 years now. And so I've been gaming for 23 years now at the age of 25.
That is so crazy. And your Twitch Rivals, that was with Hyperscape, correct?
Yes, that was with Hyperscape. It had a short-lived life, but it was amazing. I loved it at the time. But one of the best things to come from that was technically it was my first time actually working with a game studio. So in all of my years of playing games, I never really got a chance to like talk to developers. But so with Hyperscape, I got so close to a lot of these developers, a lot of these community managers, and it actually allowed me to become part of their, what's the name of it? It was like an ambassador program for Hyperscape. So essentially I was an Ubisoft ambassador. I had to sign NDAs, I had to sign papers, non-competes. Like there's a lot of stuff that I had to go through to actually do this. And I sat down and helped them with test plays and stuff of the game as the progress went. So it was kind of like a QA tester position. And it was just what I did because I really wanted to help out the game. But it actually gave me a like foot in the door for the industry, which is really cool. And
like being professional in the industry and really
being a professional, being like a working, like that's like being a working professional in the industry. So not just being like a professional esports athlete or like it's just literally like I was actually working on a game, which is cool. It wasn't to the degree that some other developers put in, but like again, testing is still work in its own. And I mean, I never thought that I'd end up there. I never thought in all my years, and the company was Ubisoft, I never thought that these games that I was playing growing up, like I played their games growing up all the time. My dad played a lot of the original Rainbow Six games, and that was like a huge franchise that blew up. So I played all of these games by Ubisoft, and I kept saying Ubisoft. And so for all these years to finally actually like work with them, like that's, I don't know. For me, it's like really weird. It's like, I don't know, you spend 20 years doing something and then you realize, wait, this company that I've been seeing the entire time, I'm working for them. Like, wow, like, I don't know.
So I want to talk about then, what would you say out of all your years of gaming, which has been the majority of your life, except for 2 years when you were an infant, what would you say are the biggest highlights of your time in gaming, where it's like that's where moments where you thought, okay, this is amazing? Or because I know you put so much time and energy, whether it was just to get better at the game, whether it was to compete, whether it was to be a creator, like when were the moments where you're like, holy shit, this is cool, this has been life-changing, or I'm on the right path?
Well, so I feel like those are about a couple different questions, but I guess like the best way to say it is that with me, like my most memorable moments from my years in gaming, obviously just the entire time in Hyperscape, because that's when I had public attention on me about gaming. Like it had never just been like I'm good in private, and for all my other years, it's always been like I'm good between my friends or like within smaller groups. So having that public attention, it's nice. It's like really nice to have that. It's like, oh, like all these years of me gaming, I was able to get like 300 people in front of me watching my stream, actively chatting, getting hyped when I did stuff. Like that's, for me, that was like really, really, really cool, because I'd streamed for also years to 3 people, to 4 people, 5 people. It grew to like a nice community because of my college community, which I really appreciated. But even still, it was like I was streaming to 6, 7 people for years and years before I was able to break out. And those breakouts happen very fast. It's just how the game works with Twitch and content, is when these new games come out, if you're at the top of those games and you're creating good content or you're making good content, then you start accelerating and blow up. Otherwise, it's a lot of years and years of grinding in silence. Like a lot of creators, that they grind for years and years and years in silence before getting anywhere. And it's like everyone's like, oh, you're an overnight success. And it felt like that with me.
I was gonna say that.
Like looking at me, it's like, oh, I had nothing for years and years, and then all of a sudden, like pulling up all these viewers to 300. It's like that just doesn't happen overnight, but it kind of does. It's just all of that work is done behind the scenes, beforehand, trial and error, learning how to do things better. So for me, it's like I was learning how to engage better on stream, and because it's hard, you can't just like, I mean, try it yourself for 8 hours to 12 hours. You're talking to just everyone while trying to focus on a game. And
I know. Oh my gosh, that was the hardest thing, is the you're not even just multitasking, you're quadruple. Like you've got 6, 7 things going on at once. It was crazy. I think my brain was so focused whenever I was streaming on like, and I was listening to music too, because I like listening to music. So it's like, you're listening to music, you're trying to think strategy with the game, you're trying to aim, you're trying to listen to your teammates if they're talking, you're trying to talk to your teammates, you're trying to read chat. Like there's so much that's happening, and then you're like, I remember I felt like because so much was happening, I didn't get sarcasm, because so much was going on that the sarcasm just
it flew
didn't go, it just whoosh. And I remember watching a couple of my own streams back, and there were some things that I remember that were so embarrassing when I was live, because people are like, Josie, oh my God, how did you not get that? And then I would rewatch it and immediately be like, how did I not get that? But when you're in it, it's so hard to do like 20 things at once. Yeah,
so it's just, it gets very overwhelming a lot of the time with that, and people don't really realize it. It's like one thing to be good at games, it's one thing to be a funny person, it's a whole other thing to be able to like entertain while playing a game and talk and do these things all the same. It's weird. Like I look back at some of my clips and it's like funny to see my reactions, because I'm even overwhelmed. It's like something crazy happens, so I'm trying to react, but I don't know what to say, and so I say like some kind of like, sometimes it sounds cringe. I look back, I'm like, why did I say that? But it's because I just don't know what to say. But so again, it was me doing like 3 years. How many was that? That was 22. Yeah. So those 3 years of me streaming on Twitch to like basically nobody, under 10 people the entire time. I had waves in Apex where I got to like 30 viewers and stuff, which was really crazy, but like it never was anything super crazy. And so I got to like practice at that time how to stream, how to portray myself, how to do better. And then once the attention started coming from Hyperscape, I started getting more people in my streams. I was able to portray myself in a way that was entertaining, engaging, and reactive for the community. And one thing I was always told I was good at was responding to everyone in chat. I literally respond to 99% of messages. It's one thing that a lot of smaller people don't realize it's important. I've seen so many people see messages come through and they ignore it. That is the one thing that will kill your stream faster than anything else, because each person, that's their one shot at you becoming their viewer or thinking that you're going to be a good streamer. So if I come into a random, I come into a chat, it's like there's only 20 people watching. I'm going to type something out, and a minute later, someone else types something, and then the streamer responds to them, but not me. Like it is just over. Your chance of me ever being a viewer is gone. And that's just, it's just how it is. It's like, if you ignore someone in real life, like, what do you expect? Like, if you're not going to talk to them, how do you expect to get these viewers? You have to start off somewhere. You have to engage until you're like super famous, 1,000 viewers every stream, so many comments, you can't even keep up with it. Like, I get that. That's when it's a time to like not respond. But otherwise, like in between, like respond to everyone. Don't have an ego. Like, everyone's in your chat for a reason.
Right.
Just literally talk to people. So that's just one thing that a lot of people don't really realize that ends up happening with streaming.
It's just like walking into a party. I think a lot of people, this is an analogy.
It's like walking into a party. Are you going to be the one that walks in? It's like, hey, how are you doing? What's up? Like, let's go get a drink.
Thanks
or
for
are you
coming.
Going to be there in the corner and
Thanks
just be
for
like,
being here.
Sitting there in the corner being like, just not doing nothing.
Or even being like the cool girl and just being like, oh, I'm just like not going to talk to anybody. Or like,
and then someone comes up to me like, hey, you're cool, and then just
the mean girl stare, like up and down, like up and down, you can't even be bothered with their presence. And it blows my mind when people do that. Even what I would do, I would go to the extent to where if I knew that it was the final circle or it was going to be really intense and I had to pay attention to the game, I would say, I'm so sorry, chat, give me a couple minutes. I'm going to read all your messages. The only time I did ignore a few people though, but I didn't intend, like I did it on purpose because they were being creepy.
Yeah, it's weird.
They were either being creepy. It was too much, but it wasn't worth blocking them because I didn't want to make a fuss. That's a whole other thing too. You have to figure out, like, it's a very fine line of, is somebody just having a bad day, or are they making other people uncomfortable? Or like, if you just ignore them, maybe they'll get the hint. 9 times out of 10, though, nobody gets the hint. Some people will just be like, why aren't you responding? And I just straight up, really like, I see it loud and clear, but I'm ignoring it. But that's the only time that I would. And that's an exception.
It's like, again, it's fine to do that stuff when it's people that are weird, creepy, anything like that. But it's just in general, if you're trying to grow a channel, you want to respond to every single person, because that, like, especially at the start, you have zero support. Like, maybe you've got a friend, like me, was my roommate. He would throw on my stream sometimes. And even still, when he was home, he wasn't having my stream on the entire time. And I couldn't get mad about that because, like, he's got a life too. Like, he's doing his own thing. So it's just, that would be my only support. And again, if you have someone that comes in your chat, you want to treat them right, make sure they're interested, ask them questions, especially when you're small. You've got all this time, you're playing games for hours. And if someone's there and you're not talking, like, what? At least have conversations with that one person. Yeah. Like, maybe you get an hour of conversation, you ask them interesting questions, you learn, oh, hey, they're like all the way in Oklahoma, or you're like, wow, you're all the way in Alaska and you do deep sea fishing and it's your off season, so you like to game. Like, wow, that's so cool. I never thought I'd meet someone like that. And then you go and talk, you're like, I've never gone deep sea fishing. Like, aren't you scared shitless? Like, I don't know. Like, you go and converse. So
or like, how many fish have you caught? Or what's the most amount of fish that you caught? And some people aren't good at conversation, and that's okay. And there are some like comfort streamers that don't really need as much excitement. And of course, like, if you're a streamer, you're thinking about getting into it, always do what feels right to you. Don't try to be somebody that you're not. If like, just don't. It's not worth it. It's not going to last. You're going to get depressed. Like, that's a no. And also, even if you are an excited person and you do want to welcome everybody, this is what I have heard from a lot of people, especially the introverts, is that you can see, if you click on the eye, if you're not a streamer, I'll explain it. You can click on the eye and it shows you the names of everybody that's watching. And some people are just lurkers. Some people don't want to be called out. So if they're not typing and you see them in there, I recommend not being like, hey, like, how's it going? Or like trying to force conversation on them, because some people just want to lurk. They're just there. They might be keeping you on in the background. They're not listening. So that's another thing. But yeah, I think that those are some really good tips. Yeah. So, okay.
Actually, going back to the main thing that you're talking about, were fun memories of me. So for me, it was Hyperscape that first time, having like real big attention public. That was like obviously really nice, because you're able to kind of like have something attached to an experience where you're able to be like a tangible thing, like, hey, I had 300 people watching me at a time. Like, when you think of that, that's an entire lecture room just staring at you, watching at you. That's pretty cool. And it's like,
again, think about like a party.
Willingly. Yeah, think again, it's 10, willingly. Yes. 10 people all around you trying to talk to you. Now imagine 300 people all around you trying to talk to you and focused on you. Like, it's really crazy once those numbers change. And you think on a screen like, oh, you've got 1 viewer, 2 viewers. If you think of it, you've got 3 viewers, that's like 3 friends hanging around you. If you've got 25 viewers, that's like a school bus of people just like hanging out with you, focused
that are all eyes on you. Yeah, exactly.
So it's a whole different experience.
I will say though, sometimes like, yes, they're focused on you, but even with my chat, and I think with a lot of people's chat though, they'll talk to each other. Like I've met, I know people have become friends in my chat because they were talking as well. So it really is like a party. Like if somebody walks in and if you've got 3 people that come in through your front door, right? And you want to offer them drinks, you want to be hospitable, that's where you ask those questions. And then imagine 10 people coming into your door, and then imagine 100, and then 300. When you look at it as a number on the screen versus in real life, then you're like, holy, that's so many people. And this is another thing too, but we all know that a lot of people have fake followers on social media, and this is what somebody who I know who actually like bots them for people, and they said, think about 300,000 people like all with one person. Do you know how hard that is? Like that takes up, think about a stadium. That's like tons of stadiums, you know, like, or even 1,000,000 people. Imagine 1,000,000 people all like focused on one person, even just following. When you think about it like that as true individuals, it's mind blowing. And luckily the internet, you can get people from all over the world, but it's crazy.
So earliest moments, I guess, that were like highlights of gaming. First time playing first person shooter games. So it's like me playing Quake when my dad would play, I'd take over. It was a lot of fun. Then playing my first LAN experience, which was playing against another computer within the same house. So I had a friend came over and we played Red Alert 2. And for me, it was just like at the time, like, online gaming wasn't really a thing. It was like still like not big. Like even at the time, like Xbox Live wasn't as big as it was. PlayStation Live wasn't as big. Like there were some people that played on the internet, but it was very, very, very few. So even on a PC, the only way to do it was if you were connected to the same network and you didn't want to connect online, you could connect to each other and play against each other. So it was like real time, no lag, you're playing against friend. So that was a lot of fun. And then transitioning from that, basically, I think the next big thing was like Call of Duty when Modern Warfare 2 came out. Because that was my first experience like playing a game a lot of hours with a lot of friends, like in real life friends. That was like a different experience, and that was a huge highlight of its own because it created a lot of memories, like fun times. That's also when I first started competing. I tried to do game battles for Modern Warfare 2, and I competed with friends from my middle school, and all of them got absolutely destroyed and egos crushed to the point where they never wanted to play one of these things again with me ever again. Like they all were just like, why would you ever let us do that? Like, this is so stupid. Please, like, we're never going to play this with you again. I'm so sorry.
I feel their pain.
I was like, oh my God.
I feel their pain.
That's like crazy. But so that was my first competitive experience. And obviously that's like not very comforting if all of your friends give up on you. So, and it was like,
but it's because you were too good though. It's because you were too good.
It wasn't even I was too good. It's just they were not good enough to hang in those games.
Okay, but I put up a fight. I know we talked about this a bit.
Yeah, because when we first started playing, you started playing Apex games with me, and we were playing in my lobbies, which had Apex Predators, which are these top ranked players.
Hold on, I need to explain my perspective and when I realized that, like, okay, I actually can hang. So yeah, I think we talked about this in the last episode, how you were a pred and had like an insane gamer with everything, especially with Apex. Were there any other stats? Like you're two-time pred, one-time pred, like 3-time masters?
That's fine, don't worry. I was one-time pred, one-time master, but
okay,
that was the only
still, awesome player, like insane. I come in brand stinking new to the game. I'm on mouse and keyboard, which is arguably harder than console. And I know some of the console people again are going to be like, oh my God, that's not true. But so I came in and we're in your lobbies. I'm getting just completely shit on. Like I feel like I'm finally trying to get my surroundings, and you guys are doing a good job. I'm playing with one of your friends or your brother who's also very talented, been in gaming forever. I'm like, oh, how do I grab stuff? Like I'm trying to grab stuff, I'm trying to shoot at people. And I remember my very first kill, and like I didn't realize though when I had my own lobbies that it was going to be so much easier. And so that was a really like crazy experience. But yes, I definitely know exactly how that is. But I fought. I was a fighter. I was like, I want to get better because I don't want to be so bad. This is embarrassing. Like,
so that's like the first start. I start playing that. Black Ops comes out. I start playing Black Ops. I start playing with my dad's friend, because my dad actually plays soccer like on Sundays all the time. So he was like a little bit younger as in like 30 something. The dude is like part-time actor or something, like a foreign actor in Italy or something. He just plays Call of Duty all the time in his free time. He just has nothing else to do. He makes money and does his thing so he can just play. So we were playing all the time. Every weekend I'd play with them, and every weekend we would get into the top 10 of the prestige leaderboards, which was only for like, it's like not everyone's leaderboards. It was only people that had like gotten to whatever certain level and then decided to redo their level. So it's kind of like only for people that really played a lot. But so again, every week the leaderboard would change and I was always top 10. So for me there, I was like, whoa, I'm like actually good at games. And then I transition away from console gaming in that year. So 2013-ish, I get a PC, a gaming PC, because I want to start playing PC games again. I was like, okay, console's fun, but competitive gamers play on PC, so I want to play on PC. And so I start playing just everything on that point. I think Counter-Strike was my next big thing because that's when I started really playing a lot. And I was watching esports for Counter-Strike a lot. And that really kind of drove a lot of it. And there was also a very big period where I did CSGO gambling because it was very popular. It's actually what it got a lot of people into the game. But I watched a lot of these professional games and I was like, wait, I can bet money on and it wasn't really money. It was in the in-game items were worth certain amounts of money. So I'd bet like $2-3 here or there, like make a couple extra dollars and just like keep betting. And it was like cool and fun, but then I kind of stopped because I was like, it's gambling, so I don't want to keep doing that.
What are your thoughts on that with gambling and with kids that are younger? Because
I think it's terrible.
Avoid some stuff?
No, it's terrible. My generation was the generation that playing through games, you were the one introduced all these predatory mechanics and stuff. And it was just like, for me, I started playing FIFA and my friends like, play Ultimate Team. It's like, you get to have all these like packs of characters. And if you have your favorite soccer player or whatever, like you get to play as them, you get to have a custom team. And I was like, oh, that sounds so cool. So I'd buy these packs. I'd spend $20. I'd buy like 40 players that were at random. Maybe one was really good. And then I'd play with a shitty roster, make some money in the game, whatever, like buy some more players, and then 2 weeks later, pay $20 more. And I kept doing that. And I ended up spending like $300 over the year making my ultimate team because I only played a lot of FIFA. And lo and behold, like, again, I'm gambling to get a better player. I'm not guaranteed a better player every time I pay for these packs.
Mm-hmm.
I have to keep playing a lot of time. I have to play a lot to like get more players too. And then at the end of the year, the new FIFA came out and they're like, hey, yeah, all those characters that you have, all those players you have, doesn't matter in the new FIFA.
Jeez.
It doesn't carry over. So you have to pay for it all. And after that happened, I was furious. I was like,
oof, yeah,
like it literally, they can't carry it over. All that money that I spent, they can't carry it over. Like, no, it doesn't seem right. That was predatory. And
I'm sure that made a lot of people pissed off and not want to continue. Actually, I feel like that was bad marketing.
There's a lot of things that happen like that across games, and it's a problem. And it's why a lot of these live service games, which is now a lot of these games, it's all about like every week there's an update, there's something new. Like Fortnite I think Fortnite did a really bad job, or like it was good that they did it, but also really bad. It spoiled a generation of gamers to be able to have that much content that frequently. But so it gets rough when it gets into the nitty gritty of these things and a lot of these predatory practices. And unfortunately, they're here to stay. I think that, back in my day with games, you wouldn't pay for a skin. You went to a website, someone else that was a nerd went into like a visual editor to like change up a skin. So instead of a apple, you've got like a banana now or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so it'd be funny to be like, oh, let me do this. And they'd like work on animations. It was like an independent developer working on something.
That's
you just
cool.
download it and use it.
Yeah.
But now it's like, yeah, anything that you want different, $10, $20. And it's kind of insane. But I don't think that's going anywhere. People will pay for the things they want to pay for. It's just it's sad to see the direction it's come. Yeah,
it's almost like too much at that point. So okay, we're going to take a super quick break. And when we get back, we're going to continue talking about your highlights. And then I have a couple more questions as well that we'll get into. So we'll be back. We are back. So keep telling us about some of the like highlights of some of the best moments for your gaming.
So some of the first moments that were best probably were, again, just going over the ones that I said, just first playing FPS games, first playing my first like LAN game, playing my first online game versus other people. That was a shooter game. That was with my dad when I was younger. Then playing Modern Warfare 2, first time playing with a bunch of friends, game online. Going from that to Counter-Strike, playing a competitive game with some in real life friends online. And then it was going into college, where the highlights after that were kind of just restarting gaming again. So PUBG was a whole new genre, Battle Royale. That was just brand new. And for me, I played a lot of that. That was very cool. And then at that time, seeing like Twitch and everything blowing up. So just from there, I think my Counter-Strike college career, I look back to and I really miss it because it was just so much fun. It was just a bunch of people from my same school all playing at a really high level at a video game we all love. It was just cool. And on top of it, an entire crowd of guys, I love them to death because we were all nerds, but they're like, I call them social cool nerds. There's a bunch of nerds out there. And we have some super geeky nerds, some extremely awkward nerds,
which we all love. We all love.
I love them all. I love them all equally, but it's just a whole other experience when you've got a bunch of social nerds all together.
Yeah.
And we would like hang out. We'd go to In and Out like after games and stuff. Just I don't know. This is like social, fun, cool. Like it's community. It's nice.
Yeah.
So that was something I really looked forward to, and then after that, just that I had kind of dove into gaming, and I guess like grinding to pred was fun. Getting like, again, all of my top accolades that I've had in games. So just like grinding to pred, hitting top 100 in this game, top 100 in that game, hitting rank number 1, just all of those things together for me, like those are amazing experiences. And it's like really cool to be able to look back and be like, yeah, like out of like all these people, I was in the top 100. I was in the top 100 for that. Like, I don't know. It's just like kind of nice. And I think that was like the last of just like everything before going into Hyperscape and having all that attention. But again, it's a different experience for everyone. And I think we should transition this from like what I've done to like the careers that you can get within gaming.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot that you can do. A lot of people don't realize it. And you have to be honest with yourself. You have to look at yourself and be like, okay, like some people, I hear this thousands of times. Same thing with sports. All these kids are like, I want to be a professional football player. I want to be a professional baseball player. I want to be a professional Counter-Strike player. I want to be a professional Valorant player. And they come on, they can only spend at least like 1 month with a team before like quitting and calling everyone bad and just like making excuses and stuff. And so what ends up happening is that I had hopped. So in that time, I'd hopped between like 20 plus teams in like 5 years. Like when you think of that, that's absolutely
crazy.
Insane.
Yeah,
that's like what professional athlete even hops 20 teams in their entire life?
Yeah.
Like not many. So imagine 20 teams. Like it's unreasonable. It's like all these people, they don't understand. They just need to be within the same group, practice consistently for years and years. And then after a couple of years, when you're really solid, then you can be like, hey, maybe we're not the best fit, but you need to be in an environment that allows you to learn, practice, and get better. And it doesn't happen by changing it every month. So you have to look back at yourself in a serious way and realize if what you're saying can be done. I'm not saying don't go for your dreams, like definitely go for them, but be realistic. If you know that you're not a competitive person, but you want to be professional, think twice. A lot of these times, these professionals aren't even making as much money as other people could. If you're a very social person that makes people funny, if you can be social, you can be funny, you make people laugh, think about content creation. That might be something that's really good for you. Or better yet, if you're good at coming up with jokes, but you don't like being on camera, think of being maybe a content writer for these things.
Or a VTuber, right?
Or VTuber, yeah, exactly. You don't want to be like, if you don't have your own personal self shown, you can be a VTuber. You can be an anime character now and just like be an anime character on the internet. Like there's all of these different options, but the big thing is to just look at yourself and be realistic on what you can and can't do. Understand what dreams that you want to have versus what things you want to push for. Like, again, if you weren't a competitive person but wanted to be a pro, I still think it's worth to try it. Like, go for that experience. But go into it knowing like, hey, I'm not competitive. This might not be for me. And then experience it yourself and then be able to be like, oh, hey, like that was either fun, bad, good, yes, no. And then go to the next thing. But when finding a career, there's a lot of hidden things that you can do. And it doesn't take a lot to start up. Like right now, actually just yesterday, I was playing Warzone 2 which is new. I never played the first one actually, but I mean, I played a couple games, so I didn't really play it. But I was playing with someone, it was a friend, and he invited me to friend's Discord, and I was talking with this guy. This guy, he, since the pandemic started, was trying to find ways to make money. So he was editing TikToks for people, and he would pay, he'd make people pay for like a package, and they'd spend $200 for 20 videos for the month. And
that's
so
that's such a good deal. That's a really good deal.
He was doing killer deals. And so he kept doing that till he was able to build enough of like group of clients and started scaling. And so all he's doing is he's taking videos that they literally already had, throwing on TikTok sounds, making it vertical, and adding like a couple things. Once you get down to it, it probably takes like a lot of hours the first time, but then if you learn how to do it, then the next time it's faster, next time it's faster, next time it's faster. And then all of a sudden you can pump out in an hour, probably like 5 of these videos. And you're working at that point 2 hours making $100 per hour. And so if you think of that, you start scaling. Like, people need content more than ever today. People don't want to edit. And if you can provide like competitive rates for editing, and you find yourself, again, it just takes one client. Like, they start blowing up because of you. You can start charging more because they want to keep you. You're the one making them all of that extra. You're saving them time. You're making the money. You can start upcharging. And then because you've made someone famous, you can say, hey, if you go to me, I've made people famous already. Come back to me. So there's a lot of this opportunity in the space, in so many spaces. So I think we were just saying, being a professional, you can be editing for someone, content creation. There's people that do ads. There's people that do sponsored videos for mobile games. If you get any sort of audience that you can put in front of you and you say, hey, I can reach 10,000 people, let me sponsor your mobile game. You do like maybe a stream, maybe a 10-minute video, they'll pay you $2,000. You're like,
whoa, that's crazy.
Like, whoa, like $2,000 for just like talking about a game and just like playing a mobile game I'll never touch again. But it's real. That's how this space works. And so you just need to start, I guess, like my biggest advice is play around with everything that you can and realize what works best for you. Some people are really good at being the main character. Some people are really good at being the supporting character. It just really depends. You might be a business person to where it's like, hey, you shouldn't even be playing games in the first place. Make a company that helps gamers in some way, either make mouse pads
or merch or something, like anything.
Whatever.
And also, I do think it's important as well. Some people don't want to monetize based off of, like, it's genuinely just a hobby, and that's totally fine. Like,
there's a great example of that. There's literally a dude that lives out in the woods or cabins.
Yes, on TikTok.
He literally just streams him gaming, doesn't even have chat. Just streams himself on Twitch.
Have you seen his streams? Is he the one that I showed you with his van?
Not the van guy. This is a guy literally in a log cabin. He like lives up north somewhere. I think he's Canadian, and just
we love our
goes throughout his day, and then like gets on from like sometimes you just no schedule, just like 6 to 10, 7 to 10, maybe 7 to 11, just gaming, and then he ends stream, and he's got like hundreds of people watching it. Like you can literally do anything. You just have to be consistent.
Like, and some people also maybe don't want to stream, or they don't like, whatever you want to do, you have the ability to. And if you're like, oh, I just want to be a gamer, gaming is going to be in my life, I want to do it casually, that's fine. If you're thinking about doing the monetization route, then you can listen. Nader, I think you had some fantastic tips on that about trying everything. I think it's also important with what you were saying with, if you're on a team, to give it at least a couple of years and then say, okay, this isn't working, and not hopping around if you want to be competitive, but absolutely try. And when it comes to content creation too, you can't overthink, like, and it takes so much time. There's so many examples, exactly like what you were saying, of the overnight successes, when usually it takes 300 or 400 videos to get there. There's this fantastic girl, her name's Kaleigh, and she said that she blew up overnight from her stream blew up, and she was able to apply for partner, which was crazy. And people kept saying, oh, you're just an overnight success. And she goes, I posted over 400 videos on TikTok before one of them blew up, and then it looks like I was an overnight success. But everybody's just so quick to say that. And also, like, you can't make excuses when you try things and it doesn't work. You can't, like, don't blame other people. It's what you're doing, and it's okay. But then that's when you go try something else, or you mix it up. If you say, hey, I really like content creation, I want to have my face here, but I'm not doing well with what like the current videos I'm doing. Okay, then try a different editing way, or maybe do gameplay, maybe do some trending sounds, maybe even just talk to the camera and give it a solid effort before you quit. I think too many people give up too fast. And also it just might not be for you. Like streamers, if you try to go on Twitch and you don't do anything else and you don't want to, and like you're not just going to blow up, and it might take you multiple people or multiple times when you only have a few people, but that's normal. People go years without having viewers. So, and the only reason I feel like it was easy for me was, or not easy, was we can get into the whole like, you're a girl, so you're of course gonna blow up, which, to be honest, so I'm gonna talk a little bit about my journey, especially because Nader, you're the reason why I got into it. So I'll start with the PUBG.
Actually, really quickly, I wanted to see if I could bring up a quick screenshot because I wanted to show what my viewer count looked like throughout just the experience. So let me see if I can. So as you can see over here, this is my average viewers at the time. Like again, 14. I'm not a crazy Twitch streamer with tens of thousands of followers, but this was just my experience.
Yeah.
I start streaming here. You see just on average 3 viewers, 2 viewers, 1 viewer, 0.
Oh my God,
0,
look at
3,
that.
3, it's tiny, nothing. And then I take a bit of a break. Then this comes around. I start streaming a bit harder. It's like, okay, like 5.89, 6, 7, 8, like, okay, like awesome. Take a little break, another little pop right there, take a break, another pop here. And again, like getting a bit more traction. Like I'm starting to actually, every time that I stream, like I get attention. This is when Hyperscape comes out. This is when I go all out, and you can just see all of that.
Yes, that's crazy.
And
that's
so between here and here, that was 2 years. That was 2 years of me. Like this is like probably like a quarter of a year consistent. Then I took a break. This is probably like half a year to like 9 months being extremely consistent. And then again, like a break, got another like 8 months with like a couple months in between of just like breaks, going to see family and stuff. But it literally was all of this 2 years before hitting this. And besides that 2 years, it was also 20 plus years of gaming and getting good. And people were watching me because I was good at the game. So that didn't just happen like, again, from me starting the game first day and playing good. It's like 20 years of me playing, practice, all of that together coming into all of that. So you can just see how fast this blows up. And what happened was, as this was blowing up here in viewer count, the game was overall crashing in player base. So it literally happened at the same time where I rose up and came down just as fast because the game itself became irrelevant.
I know, you can see it in the chart.
Like you can just see this. And
the pain.
The craziness of it is that if this game were to have blown up equivalent to Fortnite or Apex or any of these things, like this would have been able to stay consistent or grow even higher. But with no player base, no viewer base, no one cares. So as sad as it is, this is kind of like how a lot of these stories end. And there's a lot of people that like I've been seeing stop streaming, you never hear them ever again. And it's like these people just disappear off the face of the earth. But that was my stream experience, and I know that you had a bit of a different one. So that was just like how that's a visual of seeing like the overnight success when it's not really overnight.
And it still didn't even last, but of course that was for other reasons. So yes, my journey, how I got into it was of course from you. And I think this is really important to say too, because you're never too old to start. Even if you don't know anything and you're starting from scratch, you can absolutely do it. Even if you're a girl, no matter what your situation is, no matter who you are, it's never too late if you want to give it a shot. So because I knew that you had always been a gamer, I did not want to be the girlfriend that was like, you need to not do this because you're not giving me any attention. Even though there were times that I probably wanted to, I thought, you know what, I'm going to at least give it a shot, see if I can get into it. He clearly likes it. Like, let's see. And at the time we had 5 friends. I know we touched on this a little bit last time. You guys were all living in the same house in college. It was sophomore year and everybody had their PCs. Junior year. Yes. You all had a house together, and it was the 5 guys who were all of our friends anyways, and they needed a place to live. So in this house, and then you guys got an extra room. And so of course you said, well, let's turn it into the gaming room. So there were 5 PCs, and I'm sure you guys can imagine, those of you who are gamers, it got hot. You'd open the door and it'd just be like whoosh from all the
5 PCs on in the same room. Yeah.
Yes. And then everybody
in Arizona
yelling.
in the desert.
Yes, and then everybody like yelling. It was so fun though, and it was interesting though because half of our friend group that weren't gamers, it made you guys were so antisocial. You would never go out because you were social, being antisocial because you had that room. And there were two girlfriends that had the boyfriends within this house that were friends. I was one of them, and my friend at the time, she was also one of them. And we would be over at the same time sometimes, and our boyfriends would be there, and then we would just be bored, and we're like, oh, what are they doing? And we wanted to participate. I used to sit in a beanbag chair in the middle of the room and like draw while they were all gaming because I just wanted to talk to them, but they were all I didn't have a computer or anything. And so the other girlfriend was just as fed up. And so there was one day when they were all gaming, and it was when PUBG came out. And they had explained to us, as we touched on last time, that it was like the Hunger Games, where it's a battle royale, you get a bunch of people there, you want to pick up your loot and then kill them. And so we looked at each other and we were like, move. We scooted our boyfriends off. And so it was us two, and we're just trying to play. We're like, how do you move? And you guys were so awesome teaching us. You're like, W keys to go forward, and this is how you crouch. We were just like totally starting completely from scratch on our boyfriend's computers, M&K, like totally raw dog, and like trying to figure out how to do this. And we had so much fun. I think having her and that positive experience with her made the biggest difference for me. And we started getting on more and more and kicking them off, which thanks, by the way, for you guys. And I remember too that you were streaming, and afterwards when you guys were in that house for a year, right? It was a year that you were together, and then you went off. And when the pandemic hit, I remembered having fun with that game, and because it was so antisocial, and I didn't understand because you'd be on there for like 6 hours, right? And I've always been a show person. That's how I relax and unwind. And after a couple hours, I get kind of bored and feel like a potato, whether I'm sitting in bed or on the couch. But when you're gaming and you're talking to people, it's like such a fun experience. And when COVID hit and you couldn't be around people, I had so much time. I had a business, and so I had a really fancy like spaceship of a computer over here. And so it could download Apex, which you were playing, and it was trending. And so I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And then you were also streaming, and I was like, I could totally do this. Like, I feel like I would get more attention, like being somewhat of a cute girl. There's not as many girls on there. And so, yeah, I was like, this will be so easy. It is not
versus reality.
It is not, I have to tell you. And I have like a whole marketing background and everything too. And even Lulu Lovely, she's one of the top, I think she started with COD, right? And then she went into Apex.
Apex is where she blew up. So Apex is what
yes,
made her famous.
Apex is where she blew up, but she's always been gaming like since she was a kid. I'm pretty sure she had brothers too, but she's always been a gamer. Really cool girl. You guys should totally check out her stream. She's huge. And even she has a marketing background too. And she talked about her struggle and how, or not her struggle, but how long it took for her to blow up. Right. And this is what I'll say. And I know that some people might have different opinions or different experiences, especially as women. And I'm going to get some other women on here as well to talk about it. I want to dive into their experiences so you guys can see a little bit more when they started, how their journey went, some of the struggles or benefits to being a girl that they found. And I've seen that there are less women that are streamers compared to men. And I think as a woman, you can get people to click on you because it's like, ooh, it's a girl gamer or whatever, which I also hate that term. It's the same thing as like boss babe, boss bitch. Like we're just a boss. I'm just a boss. Like
you don't want to be a bitch. You don't want to be a bitch. You just want to be a boss.
Don't want to be a bitch. It was like the Netflix special that we watched of Liza Schlesinger where she's like, boss babe, yes, queen, get it. No, we don't need to get that. And so I'm like, we're just gamers. We're not like, oh, it's a girl gamer. Like, no, you're just a gamer. You're just a boss. Anyways, so I will say, like, guys do click on you more often, but you have to keep their attention. You have to, whether you're good at the game, whether you talk to people, and it's also hard to get seen. So Twitch in particular, I think YouTube has a lot better discoverability. I haven't been on YouTube. I have some friends that have been on there, which again, they'll come on the show and can talk to you a bit about those experiences. So that's something to look forward to next time. But Twitch has really bad discoverability unless you're like a mid-level, like I would say maybe 20 average viewers or so, then you get on people's recommended. But besides that, it's like nada. And so if you're going to be successful, you have to use other platforms. And I think with Nader's journey, you have always been more of a Twitter and I would even say YouTube person. Did you ever post you posted some YouTube videos, which is, if you're applying to Twitch partner, you do need to build your case, and they ask you about your Twitch and your YouTube, which
they look at your total audience of everything. They ask for all your socials, and so if you show them like, hey, because you as a Twitch person, you may not be a gamer, but let's say that you're an arts and crafts person and you got like an Instagram page and it has like 50,000 people because you do a really good job at what you do.
Yeah.
Well, if you start doing art streams, you get 75 viewers. They want to know that you have an art page. They don't want to be like, oh, like you don't game. Like, no, they're going to look at all the stuff. So they'll see your Instagram, they'll see your creative pages. If you do YouTube, it helps. So the more you have out there, it's like a portfolio. It's like, hey, do we want to go at like, is this person someone that we can see being like a Twitch partner or something?
Yeah.
But so all of it helps. Everything across every platform.
Hard. Oh my God, it's so hard to get Twitch partner. And even, I didn't even make it. I'm so glad that you did, but you also were streaming for a lot longer.
I only got to apply. I only got to apply to, and I still got denied.
Yeah, you were so close, but it's still not too late. Yeah. I would like to actually start grinding again to get back to that because I think that'd be really cool. But yes, growing on different platforms was helpful. And as I mentioned in the last one, I used TikTok because I knew that going viral was a lot easier there. So then you could get more traction. So again, I posted 3 times a day for an entire month, gained 10,000 followers. And the funny thing is, even being a lady and everyone's saying, oh, you have it so easy. The video that went viral wasn't even me. It was me playing music over an insane ALGS and Apex Legends tournament that happened. And it was a really good clip that I took from Twitch. And then I put some like headbanger music over it because I thought it was funny. And that was the most that it blew up. It wasn't even me.
Did it hit millions? I'm pretty sure it did.
Or like a 500,000 or so. I don't think it actually hit in the millions, and people were like, oh, you're a girl, it's easy. And anytime that I'd show my face, like I had a couple ones that were funny that did well, but the one that did the best to this day wasn't even
pure me. Apex. It was literally pure Apex. And it was like, you couldn't even hear the announcers really or anything. It was just like,
I wasn't talking over
headbanging, dubstep, and crazy, just like clips. And so it's just at the end of the day, I really don't think that being a woman just makes it easy. I think it's still hard.
There are
differences hard for everyone. Though. There are differences, and it's like maybe you can attract people a certain way because you're a woman. Like again, there's some people that like, hey, if you're wearing like no top, maybe it's easier to get some attention, but think of the quality, like long-time value of that person viewing you. Is that who you want to be watching you?
Right, exactly.
That's the person you want in your community. Do you want them just to be staring at your tits all day? Like,
and if you want that, like,
if you want 100 people staring at your tits all day, go ahead, go and do that. But otherwise, it's like.
I think also if you are a female and you're looking into getting into streaming and you don't want to do that, if you do, again, go for it. That's totally fine. That wasn't what I wanted at all, and so. Like I would wear even like tops like this where I wouldn't try to, some days I wouldn't care as much. And like, you should wear what you want and you shouldn't have to be sexualized because women are not just objects, of course, but it did make it a little bit easier if you're not trying to have to defend yourself or do that. So I recommend like, if you're looking into it, you don't want to like, just, and that's what a couple other ladies have said too, who have blown up and said the same thing. That's like some decent advice. But yes, I would say that you might be able to get the click more, but there are hundreds of women who say they're like, I don't know who's talking about that it's so easy because I've been sitting at 0 to 2 viewers for 5 years and they're beautiful and they're like, I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're not entertaining. Maybe they're not good at the game. Maybe they're playing something so niche. There are so many variables to it. And so this brings me to one of the questions that I specifically wanted to ask you as well. What would you tell other guys who have girlfriends that aren't gamers, or if there's a girlfriend, actually, we'll start with that question. What would you do?
So if you have a girlfriend that's not a gamer, not interested in gaming, I think the best thing that you can do is based on what their hobbies are, try to connect the hobbies together in some way. Because every girl is going to have something that they're interested in. There's a game for everything out there. Yeah. Like if you have a girl that loves like
Animal Crossing.
If you have a girl that loves horses, like There's horse games out there, literally. Like there's so much you can choose from. They're like, it's crazy. So you just have to think, okay, who is this person that I'm dating? What do they like? Like, are they huge on like cooking, food, sounds? Like a lot of people that aren't big gamers might like Rock Band because they like hearing music, and then it's like kind of intuitive. You can kind of play it, whatever.
We had a lot of Mario Kart fans last time.
Yes,
that were popping in.
Mario Kart was like a big one. So like, hey, like I don't know if you want to get them into Mario Kart, that's like a chill game, but there's like a lot of ways. There's like so many ways to do it. Like if you know the person's a party person, you can definitely do party things with video games and show them they can have fun doing that. Like if you played Mortal Kombat, but every time you lose, you take a drink.
Yes.
Or you do Mario Kart, you do Beerio Kart. So it's like you can't finish the lap until you finish your drink. So you can, a lot of people either race to the end, wait, finish their beer, chug it, and then go across, or like chug it at the start, whatever. So you can get them involved into gaming like that. There's just a lot of different ways that you can do it, but I think the best thing is to find something comparable. So Josie, I know that Josie, like she likes her action. Like I feel like she's an adventurous person, and she loved her TV shows and movies. And I know that she had seen, or she knows about the Hunger Games. Did you read the Hunger Games too?
I did, and I'm not a big
fan. So I also
like
read the Hunger Games, so
yeah.
I knew that too. So I was like, okay, Hunger Games feels like a great example to use to get her into PUBG of all games. So because I was like, hey, you know the Hunger Games? Well, this game is kind of actually like the Hunger Games. I come into this place with like, instead of 16 people, it's 100 people. And so you kind of just like kind of break their world. You're just like this thing that they're super interested into it, and there's like a game about it, but it's like crazier, and you're like, what? So I don't know. That's how I broke you into getting into the game stuff.
You broke me.
I broke you. I just ruined you with it. But there's a way to do it with every person. And so again, some people are sports fans. There's sports games. Some people are more visual. Some people are, I don't know, like if you're like into like ancient history, there's so many games that you can do that bring a girl into ancient history. Like if you play any of the Assassin's Creed games or Civilizations or like whatever, like you just should know. You should be able to gauge what they like doing. Things that you
it's okay if it doesn't work too, though, because you tried Portal, because that's a puzzle game, and it sounded really cool, and you thought I would love it, but I honestly hated it. I was like, this is so stupid. I was raging at the computer.
It makes me really mad that you didn't like the game, but I can't control that.
I know, but hey, I do love the FPS too, and all the fighting games. Okay, so then that brings me to another question. What do you think you would have done, or how would you have handled it if I told you that you had to quit, or if someone else is going through something like that?
Okay, it's really.
I know
tough.
that's always a heavy
question. Thing. I think that ultimatums are just a no in almost every scenario.
I like that.
There's a small percentage. If it's like, hey, you need to stop gaming because you've got a problem. You spend 15 hours a day behind your computer, and you won't even like get up to go and like
check on me.
You pee in a bottle while you're at your desk the entire day. Like,
I know that there's probably people like that too.
There's terms like I learned a term from a friend. It's called poop socking. I don't think it's real, but people would be in like raids for like World of Warcraft or Guild Wars or things like this, and you're there for like 3-4 hours repeating the same actions trying to beat a boss. You don't have time to take a shit. Literally, like you don't. So people would poop in their sockers. Like I don't know. There's like really funny weird things
that is crazy.
Happen.
Wow.
But going back around, so with the advice, I think
ultimatums, yes.
The ultimatums. So the advice on ultimatums is that I don't think ultimatums are good, but you need to be able to consider yourself and think, okay, am I doing something that's productive or unproductive? You have to categorize what you do. Are you doing it as passion pursuit? Are you doing it as passion to make money? Are you doing it to make money? Are you doing it to blow off steam? What are you doing it for? And if for gaming, it's like, okay, I need to blow off steam. I play like 10 hours a week, like 2 hours a day, every day, Monday through Friday, because I hate my job. And afterwards I get to like kind of calm down. Tell your significant other, look, I only play games for this. Mm-hmm. Communicate. I get it. The big thing with relationships is communication. Like you just have to tell each other everything at all times, because you keep things away from each other, hide things, shit falls apart. So you just need to be able to talk. We've been
dating for about almost 7 years.
It's
so
almost
we do
7
have
years.
a little, my college sweetheart. So we have a little bit of help. Or a little bit of knowledge.
Yeah, but communication is huge. So if you have someone that's telling you like, no, and again, it's like a parent thing. If your parents like, you're not allowed to game until you leave the house, you may be screwed and stuck until you leave the house. There might be nothing that you can do for it. Also, again, a lot of people out there want to be gaming as a career. As I said before, figure out how you want to make it a career, what you can make it as a career, be realistic and really try, but don't give up everything for it too. Like,
yeah, you might
it's
have
like,
to, it might have to
I
be a
think
side thing that
this is
then
a big thing.
transitions.
The biggest, so one of the biggest mistakes that I made personally, but it's something I had to learn and live through, was when the pandemic hit, or like right before it hit, I graduated college and I chose like, hey, I don't want to work. I want to try doing gaming full time. So I'm just not going to work. And
Well,
try
I
to game
pushed you to
full-time.
that too, though.
But
I totally pushed you to do
but
that.
even outside of that, that's still my mistake, because at that time, I still should have been working. I had a restaurant job before then. I still should have kept working in restaurants during that time, because you should not make that leap unless you are financially prepared for an extent. I was prepared for like 4 months. I thought that I'd be able to start making money within 4 months. I was wrong. But you need to give yourself a huge buffer, but you need to be making money first too, while giving yourself that buffer. I know there's some stories, there's some people that were like, hey, I'm going to quit doing everything in life, buy a PC with a credit card, and I'm going to start streaming until I become famous. And a couple of people actually did become famous doing that. But again, I'd seen that person. I'm like, I know that I'm a better gamer than this person, and they're able to make it happen. I'm going to try to do it. And just being a better gamer isn't it? Like, there's so many other things
so
you
much
have
more
to do.
Mm-hmm.
But again,
That's good
going
advice.
back to that whole thing, it's when you have someone, communicate, make sure that you're on the same page. If you want to be able to play 5 hours with the boys, tell them, I need sometimes to be able to play with the boys for 5 hours. I'm sorry. I know you probably want attention. So here's like, I bought you a movie to go and watch, and here's like your favorite snack. Go, bye.
I
like,
think it's all about give and take. And I think a lot of guys who, when their girlfriends or significant others or wives, whenever they get upset about it, it's not necessarily about the gaming. It's because they're not paying attention to them, or they've ignored them. Like, they come straight home from work, they don't talk to them for 3 hours, and then they go straight to gaming with the guys. And then you
so
don't
just imagine you have 6 hours with that person a day because they're working, and in that 6 hours, 5 of those hours they've gamed. It's not going to be good. But so if you tell them beforehand, hey, I'm going to game for 5 hours. I need to play with the boys. I need this. It's for my soul. Like, it's the one thing that's going to keep me whole.
It's for my soul.
It's for my soul to keep me whole, please. Like, just say it.
And then make sure you're also like taking care of things too. Like, if like, make sure that you're doing your part around the house. Make sure that you're maybe going on a date. Like, schedule a date once in a while.
Compromise is huge. This also applies to the parents, because this is a common thing. So between having a significant other that may not like you gaming, compromise is what gets you through. And also with a parent, like, let's say parents are like, stop wasting time behind video games. Like, you're not going to go anywhere. Compromise. Be like, hey, I get straight A's. Can I please play like during the week 2 hours a day? So then on the weekend I can play 8 hours, make content, do the stuff. I want to make it happen. Compromise. Just like, if anything, it's like, okay, I'll work, I'll get straight A's and do whatever else. I'll do extra chores.
I'll have a job, and
if you want to make it work, you can make it work. And if they say no, then go get a job, make as much money as you can. And that way, when you're out of the house, you have like your runway. So you can be like, I want to focus on gaming and do this full time now. And then you have an opportunity to.
This is another interesting idea, and then we'll wrap up. I think if you have a good job and you're able to, which I know is really hard, but if you can purchase a home I'm pretty sure it depends on where you are, and it depends on, of course, the market and the timing. But even if you get an office job and you're salaried, I know someone who got salaried, and within that like week, because they had been salaried for a week and it was a government job, they were able to buy a house, which is crazy. Or if you can get a co-signer or a parent, I'm not giving too much financial advice here, but if you can get a home, and then you can rent out the other rooms and because I think like apartment and the mortgage is or the cost of living, that's one of the highest expenses. So if you can get other people to pay your mortgage and then some, and then you can spend all time gaming, that's a really good strategy that I don't think most people use, if you can. Again, but also restaurants is a way better, like, lower version where you can work nights.
Yeah, so basically to summarize that, I tell people work restaurants because it's weird
that's
hours all the time,
doable,
which is like doable, and you get paid the most for the least amount of hours worked on average. It's easy to get into, keeps you social as well. You talk to people all day, so that's healthy. But
you have options.
If you're able to get a house, I mean, the whole idea is if you want to make this a career, minimize your expenses. So
Yeah.
having a house, if you have roommates and you're able to make the roommates basically pay for the mortgage, you're not paying rent now. Awesome, great.
Yeah.
Whatever your strategy is, like moving back with your mom and dad because you're like, hey, mom and dad, I'm 19, but I want to be a pro gamer, and they're happy with it. Go and live with them and save every dollar that you can to make it happen. Because
you can, it sounds cheesy, but you can accomplish what you want, especially even something like gaming, and it's worth at least a shot, especially while you're young. And worst case, you'll learn so much about yourself, and you'll see, okay, maybe this wasn't for me, or this isn't the time, but at least giving yourself that shot, because nobody ever wants to die with any regrets whatsoever. So okay, I think that that's a great place to end this. Thank you so much again, Nader, for popping on. I know that this is your part 2. So if you guys want to watch, go back to part 1. And next time, we're going to have some new people on the show. Some people are going to be some other females talking about their journeys. Some people are some micro influencers as well in the Apex space and just gamers in general. So yeah, I'm excited for what's next. And thank you again, Nader. Maybe you'll come on later towards the end. We'll have to see.
Sounds good.
All right.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Throne Breaks. I'm Al King, aka Big Al, and on today's episode, we're going to learn what is a card break, what is a box break, what does it mean to be in breaks. We're going to have our first guest appearance of the season. It's one of the breakers that I know. His name is Jags. I work with him as well. Great interview coming up with him. And last, we're going to figure out how much your cards are worth. That's probably the most common question that I get from people that are new in the hobby, or even just not even really in the hobby, but say, hey, I stumbled upon my dad's collection and he has XYZ cards. How do I know what they're worth? And a lot of people fall into the trap of what it's listed for versus what it's actually selling for. And I'll get into that in detail on the back end of this episode, so stick around for that. What is a break? What does it mean to buy into a break? What is a card break? Why is it called a break? What are we breaking? I don't want to break the card. Why are we breaking a card? So to put it in layman's terms, right, there's 3 different levels. There's cases, box, and packs, okay? Stick with me. You open a case that is full of 12 to 20 boxes. You break a box, which is where it comes into the group box breaks that we're about to talk about, and you rip a pack. You rip open the wrapping of a pack. Don't ask me why. It's just a terminology that they use, that we use now. But what the heck is a box break? If I wanted to get into a box break, what do I do? What does that even mean that I'm doing? Breaking became popular amongst the hobby and collectors the moment boxes started to go way up in price, to the point where your average customer, your average American, your average Joe, whatever you want to say, wasn't able to go out and buy a hobby box like we used to be able to and take it home and open it for fun and find what you're looking for and not have to break the bank. Hobby boxes, like, I don't know, 20x'd. They went way high. You could get boxes for $200 to $300 that are now like $1,800 a box. So along came the idea of breaking, and it's where you take yourself and a group of other people, go into a breaking room, and I'm gonna pull up a breaker room here soon. I'm gonna check in with Hama Blez on Blez Sports Cards. We're gonna peek on his live stream. He doesn't even know I'm doing that. But we'll take a look at what it looks like once I'm done explaining. So you plus, let's say you're buying into basketball. There's 30 teams in basketball. Each team has a price next to it, and it's called a pick your team. So one team would be $40, one team would be $18, one team would be $199, one team would be $25. and it equals basically the amount of what the box should sell for. So it's your way of getting in on a box where you can get a big card, a massive card, for very, very low, right? On the lower end, instead of going out and buying a box for $1,900, you can get 3 teams for $120, and hopefully you hit. There's also the entertainment aspect of it, which I think a lot of people really love that part. You're with a community of people, like-minded people, all in the card collecting atmosphere, and you all get to kind of hang out and chat, live chat, everything. It's a fun experience, really. And like I said, we're gonna pop in and take a look at Hama Blez right now on Blez Sports Cards. So as you see, like I was saying, on this screen here, there's spreadsheets, and next to the name, there is a number, and that is how much that team costs in that break, right? So this is Blez Sports Cards. It's a company that I work for right now. I'm breaking with them. This is Hama Blez on. Jags, the person we're going to interview coming up, is also a breaker with Blez Sports Cards. They're one of the best. They're one of the top breaking companies in the whole industry. I'm very fortunate to have broken in with them, and I'm loving every minute of it. So, but that's just, I wanted to show you guys, when you have the spreadsheets up, that's how you get into breaks, and then eventually he starts opening up the box when it fills, and like I said, everyone gets to hang out, chat, watch the box get broken. If a big card comes out, it's like you look up break videos, or maybe I'll give some and we'll add it into the episode. But look up break videos. People lose their minds when big cards are hit. The breaker loses their mind. The people in chat lose their mind. The person who hit the card loses his or her mind. It's bananas, really, is the only way to put it. And it's a lot of fun, and it's the entertainment aspect, I think, that helps the idea of community and box breaking. So hopefully that answered the question of what the heck does a break mean? I get that question a lot. But yeah, it's essentially a cheaper way to get in on a high-end box. There you go. So going from breaks to a breaker, I was able to catch up with Jags earlier this week, and we kind of talked about a little bit of everything, right? We talked about his nickname. We talked about how he got into breaking. He was a buyer first, then transitioned to breaker, and we look a little bit at his PC card. So without further ado, Jags. What's up, guys? I got Kevin McGee here with me, a.k.a. Jag. Kevin and Jags, they make no sense. Why the nickname?
Well, what happened, I started breaking with Blez when they were on Breakers TV, and you have to create a name on your profile. So I happened to buy the Jags quite a bit. I was a big fan of the Jags. So basically, I was just Jags 2020 because I thought the Jags would win it in 2020. I just made up a generic nickname, and I was actually on Breakers TV one night with Blez, and then I jumped over to YouTube with them because they're on YouTube. And as soon as I got in, S. Scott, he's like, Jags 20, and then just stuck. That's it. So that's been the name ever since. So nothing special. Just happened to be a catchy name that S. really and C. gave me.
Jags isn't short for Kevin.
Close, very close. Or it could be my middle name.
True. Didn't the Jags have Blake Bortles in 2020? You really thought they were going to go to the Super Bowl?
But they should have if the coach didn't shut them down and just decided to keep kicking it to Brady. They thought they were going to win on solely defense, but Bortles was throwing bombs against Pittsburgh, against the Patriots. But, coaching decisions, they thought running in the fourth quarter and playing defense was going to work against Brady. Little did they know, it hasn't worked against anybody.
So. I have a Blake Bortles believer on my show.
Yes, you do. Unfortunately. Yeah. I believe in a lot of guys who never worked out, but, Bortles was one of them. I actually thought he was a solid quarterback, but again, against Brady, you just can't do that.
Obviously. He just did it this past weekend again.
Oh yeah, exactly. People are going to learn one day, but it'll be when he's retired.
If he retires.
Yeah, he's never retiring.
Hey, so what got you into collecting? How did you start? Did it start as a child? When did it begin?
I collected cards back probably in the early 90s. My sister, she was into the Cubs. And then, because I lived in Chicago, up near Chicago, so I liked Ryan Sandberg, so I collected all Ryan Sandberg cards. Then come like 95 is when I started collecting like Bryant Reeves, Oklahoma State, started collecting all his cards. Street of Raheem, became a Grizzly fan. And then honestly, from then on to like 2001, I just collected guys I liked. because the cards really didn't have value like they do today. So then in 2001, when I turned 21, basically, like I had a life, a kid. Last 20 years, I didn't do a lot of it. Then come with this last, 2018, 19 class. I started really watching more basketball again, getting in the breaks with Blaise. And, come 1920, I decided I was starting to collect Rui. I started collecting a lot more then because honestly, all the breaks I was getting in, the values of the cards just spiked up tremendously. So at that point, it just became fun because you can profit off some, you can collect your players, you can have fun with it. It actually had a lot of sustainable value in a long term now because there's now a higher floor than there was years ago.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned Rui. Why the infatuation with Rui?
That was actually Blaise, Chad, 1920. I wasn't really as into basketball, so I asked him, I said, hey, what mid-level team is good? And he actually said Rui, because he's got the Japanese market. He's a good guy to collect. So I just started just buying the Wizards in every break. And then boom, from there, here I am, like the biggest Rui fan in the world, apparently. I have a massive collection of Rui. So you probably thank Chad for that, or maybe I can not thank him for that, one or the other. Depends on what happens in the next few years,
You're without a doubt the biggest Rui collector in my life, at least.
Yeah, biggest one I've seen.
So you've been collecting quite a bit, and then you took a hiatus. I think a lot of us did that, right? I did similar to that, and came back during the COVID boom, maybe a little bit before. I picked it back up in 2013 quite a bit. So I had some Mike Trout, some Manny Machados. Like I kind of got lucky in that year.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah,
you held on to them?
I held on to them. Yeah, they were sitting
nice.
in a card binder because I had no idea what I was doing as far as preserving cards back then. But
was that not the best part to go through? Is like your collection. Like once all of a sudden you realize, oh man, cards are super valuable again. All of a sudden you're flipping through your collection and finding like Mike Trout's, finding all these stuff in binders. When you're like, oh my gosh, get them out of the binders, get them in the top loaders at that point. And then that's when the whole grading boom started, and then we know how that went.
That was a really cool part. I mean, I didn't grade any of them, but I know like I flipped through and I saw Machado and I was like, I think it was right after he got traded to the Padres, maybe. And I was just like, wait, I saw this card is like worth something now. And I mean, at the time in 2013, I bought it for dirt cheap because cards were pretty darn cheap then. And I think I sold it for like $300.
Yeah, no,
very happy with
makes you feel like a kid again. Yeah,
correct.
It's like you're a kid again. That's what I felt like when I was digging through these boxes. I would spend hours on end at night digging through my common boxes, finding cards that used to be worthless or 10 cents. They were like all of a sudden like $50, and you're like, wow. And a PSA 10, it's like 500, and you're like, I didn't even know I had that. Luca Court Kings or something crazy in there. You just pull it out, and it's worth a ton of money. It's just amazing, honestly, how the card market has gone.
Well, I think part of collecting too for the older crowd, us, our area, our range, is the nostalgia, right? I mean, it does, like you said, makes you feel like a kid again. So I think it's a big draw for us.
We have two areas of collectors, really. The guys like my age, I'm 40, 42, whatever. And, I collected as a kid and now I'm collecting again. So like you said, it's the nostalgia of the cards. Whereas you find the younger collectors coming in, it's about the money of the flip. It's about a game in a sense. It's about investments. It's about stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that's where we'll have true PC pieces where some of these collectors, they really don't. They just buy cards with like a stock market mindset. I'm buying it because he could have 50 points tomorrow and I could double my money and get, 100% return, and it's fine to have that mindset. That's actually what's driving the market in a positive way. Like we want that, but you also got to have collectors like us who actually enjoy collecting our cards.
Who will actually buy that card and hold it
and not even have a price tag on it. Someone sells me something that's a PC piece. I don't really care like what it costs. Essentially, obviously, like I would say no to some things I have, but for the most part, if you really want the card, it's a PC piece. There's really no value point. There's no price point to the card. You buy it because you want it and you keep it. If you have the money, you just buy it. You don't care if 20 years down the road, if it's worth $0 or it's worth 5 million. Of course, we want it to be worth 5 million, but at the end of the day, we're buying it because it's a hobby.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what some people lose track of. Some people lose track of the fact that it's still a hobby.
That word itself, the hobby.
Yep.
Right? Yep. Hey, so I know you've mentioned Blaise a couple times. You've talked about being a buyer. I think everyone who's going to see this, mostly at least, will know that you break with Blez now as well. You and I both. That's how we know each other.
Yep.
What was that transition like, going from buyer to breaker, going from typing on a keyboard to talking to chat?
It was absolutely ridiculous, honestly. It was like night and day. I was probably the biggest jerk on the buyer's end. I'd be like, "Oh, I didn't hit any cards." I'd get so mad. I'd be pissing people off, and I would just be like mad. And then when I got on the breaker's end, I was like, wow, there's so much to do on that end. It's like you have a whole new respect for all breakers, because it's not as simple as just like when you're buying cards, you just expect stuff. You're like almost like you're what's the word for it? You better get a card, or like
You're
it's a break
almost
a spot.
spoiled. You're spoiled
Yeah,
almost.
yeah, you're spoiled. You're God, what the hell's the word for it? It's spoiled is a word for it, but you think you deserve a card. And it's like
Jaded,
you don't just
jaded maybe.
yeah, you just don't deserve anything, like in a sense. Like, of course you're buying it, it's a risk. You're taking a risk on it. So
Yeah.
as a breaker, that's why I've pumped a lot of positivity, because it is hard being on the other side. If you're positive about doing it, and you have good vibes. I mean, that's why I always pump good vibes, because when I was on the other side, it wasn't good vibes for me.
You pump negative vibes on the
I
other
pump
side.
negative vibes on the other side. So, but that's why it's been amazing, because you got a whole new respect for the breakers, because it's really hard. It's a lot of like, you think it's not physical work. You're just flipping through cards, big deal. Well, it's like you're really just not. There's a lot of mental game inside of it, of putting cards here in the sleeve pile, case pile. It's just a lot of stuff going on. Keeping up with chats. I mean, you just have a whole new respect for it. But the transition was definitely like night and day. But it's been a blast. I've been there like a year now. I think it's been a year. It's been a blast though. I've had a blast. Meeting good people, and just enjoying what you're doing. You have to have fun doing what you're doing in order to do it.
Do you want to share how it came about? How you even joining Blez became a thing?
Yeah, I was a big buyer in baseball, so I bought baseball a lot, and Hobby Hawk or whatever over on Blez Baseball, he was doing his thing over there, and I bought a lot of Bowman with him. Well, I moved out here to Vegas, and actually Backer and Chad stopped by my house, and they were just saying what's up, because I knew them from just buying, just like a friend in a sense. And so they stopped by, and they're like, hey, you just want to come out and help Hawk like sleeve, basically. I'm like, sure, I'll help him sleeve, and just basically BS with the people, because they knew I knew a lot of sports. I knew a lot about baseball, so just kind of go in and just do a show, kind of just talk with Hawk, talk about the cards. And then one thing led to another, and next I'm breaking cards, and now I'm doing basketball and football, and I'm on Buzz One all the time, because I just kind of spiraled from there to it's been fun. It's been a crazy ride. But yeah, originally it was just to come out and help out, just case and sleeve. So it's been a wild ride, I guess I would say.
But so you moved to Vegas not for Blez. You moved to Vegas for different things, and then you wound up at Blez.
Yeah, correct. I basically just stumbled upon it. I didn't come here for a job. I mean, because I have my own, I have my own business. I've been doing that for years, and I moved out here because my kid graduated. My dad recovered from cancer. So I said, I got to get out of Indiana. It's cold. It's nasty. I mean, kind of like it is here in Vegas today.
Sure. Yeah,
Cold and nasty. It's like that day every day. That's why my allergies are acting up. But I just wanted to get out of the Midwest. I wanted to get out west somewhere, get to some warmer weather, and yeah, I did that, and I was still in the cards, and then I just stumbled upon starting to work there. Essentially, it wasn't even. Again, I worked there as more of a hobby at first. Now it's turned into more of a job, but at first it was more of a hobby. Going there, I enjoyed going it. I didn't even really need to be paid. Like, it was like, oh, this is just fun.
Right.
Of course,
Yeah.
everyone wants to get paid for their time, but because time is money. But essentially, at the end of the day, it is a lot of fun going in there and doing it. It still is, but now it's more of a job, obviously.
Yeah. We're not allowed to use that word around the office, though. It's not. It's a job.
Fun or job, either one.
Hey, so we talked about Rui already, but I want to just ask what your favorite, if you have some favorite cards in your PC that you can show off, and kind of just give a story why they're your favorites.
All right, so I'll start with some of these just personal pieces that aren't really worth a lot. I mean, you got a Jordan Beam Team I pulled with a friend of mine, so it just holds a more important place. It's more of a hobby. These cards are priceless. Even this, it's just a goofy presidential card. It's just one of those things where it's just.
Is that a relic? Is that a relic on the Roosevelt?
Yeah, it's a word. You can't read it because it's FCG, but it's a written word POTUS Franklin Roosevelt. So
Wow.
it's like a word. It's like a dumb card, but it just holds a different personal value
Sure.
because of who I had it with, who I pulled
It's
it
a
with.
true PC piece. What we were talking about.
It is a true PC piece. Yeah. It's like where I opened it, and then a couple other ones here. I mean, the Rui Color Blast because it was such a hard chase. Like if anyone, I'm sure you'll tag my IG on here. If anyone goes and looks at my IG, they'll see I have insane amount of Ruiz. But these two, the Color Blast and the Kaboom, because they were such a hard chase to get in PSA 10.
Yeah.
I only typically collect 9.5s or 10s. The next one here, I'll show. This was recently. He basically gotten for me. It's a huge card in the collection. It's the 1 of 1 Black Disco, and just essentially that it was basically gifted to me. That holds a different place, obviously, in your heart than it's something you had to go chase down. This one here was actually pulled by backer of all things. We had a wild night of the Prism Asia, and I don't know how much money I spent that night, but I ended up pulling this card. 9.5, the Gold Shimmer Auto. I think it was number 5 of 10. But he pulled it for me, and I sent it off, got it graded. Yeah, this is from was from Prism Asia, right? Choice.
Wow. Yeah.
Prism Choice. Yeah. So, so he pulled this for me that night, and it was great. I mean, it was literally a true PC piece before I even knew it, in a sense, because I had a whole bunch of his cards and ended up getting this. And this is probably the cream of the crop for myself here. This here is the Super Fractor Keone Cavaco. He's a twin prospect. That's my baseball guy. This was actually, and you guys can go check out the video. It's actually pretty amazing. Hobby Hawk and Steve Blez actually made the video. They actually pulled the card for me. I think it was Hawk's one of his first nights at Blez, like his first week or two. It was actually the video's amazing.
Wow.
Like I'm sure people can go find it on Blez, but it's actually pretty funny. But they pulled it for me. So again, for reasons like that, because now I'm working with these people. I'm working for backer, and he pulled me this card. I'm working with Hobby Hawk, and and Chad's around. It's like those hold different meanings for you now. So to me, them are the best cards in my PC because I was chasing Cavaco, and what are the odds that Blez Baseball is going to pull the 1 of 1 card that I was chasing? Like,
Right.
what are the odds? There's so many other places you could have pulled it.
Sure.
Well, they pull it. Hawk pulls it for me, and it was a crazy night. I remember 3 a.m. phone calls from like Chad. Like, and I'm like, what's going on? Because how they yell. I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I fell off my couch. I think I was like, what is happening? So, but yeah, no. So them are some of my main cards with some meaning behind it. Which is kind of cool. And in my opinion, that's what drives people's collection.
Yeah.
These cards I wouldn't sell for anything because there's meaning behind all of them. I don't care if it goes to $1 million. I'm really not selling the card unless I'm homeless. That's what I always tell somebody. A PC card is a card you will not sell unless you're in desperate need of money. Simple as that. Like, unless I need to pay my bills, I'm not moving these cards. I'm not moving them just because I can profit some off them. I'm not in it to profit off certain cards. Certain ones will obtain along the way in a collection or whatever that will obviously sell because you got to get money to reinvest back into the market.
It's a little morbid. I usually say almost everything I have in my collection is for sale except my Kobe cards. They're going to go to the grave with me.
Oh, that's morbid. Yes.
It's a little morbid.
It's a little morbid, but
yeah, that just because a lot of people ask me for my Kobe cards, and that's how I guess that's how I shut them down is saying that. So
yeah. How come you're not showing me your cards? Come on, I know I've seen a lot of them, which are pretty sick, but where's your cards handy?
But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have a whole PC episode for myself, but here's the PSA 9 Kobe rookie.
Okay.
96. He's leaning against the wall. That's probably one of my favorite Kobe's that I have recently picked up. My collection, I'm a broke boy collector, so my collection is as I get better cards, they're gonna kind of move up on my PC. But this is I chase this one forever.
Oh yeah, that's sick. Yeah. You know how many of them cards I had back in 95, 96? I was chasing Bryant Reeves. It's a friend of mine who had passed away years ago. Yeah. He collected LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. Every one of them, like all the good ones. I was collecting Bryant Reeves, Mike Bibby, Sharif Abdur-Rahim, Kerry Kittles, Keith Van Horn. I was collecting all the bums.
Love those names. Dude. Love those names.
No, it was insane because I was so like later on in life, I'm like, damn, what the hell was they doing? Like, I know his sister, his family had all these cards. I'm like, I know they had LeBrons and Kobe somewhere. Like insane ones. He collected all those, and they weren't high end then. They were just cards,
Correct.
So it's just amazing how that, and you never know nowadays. Same difference. We buy cards nowadays. You don't know when these cards are going to pop off. Right. So it doesn't matter if this card's down in value. So what? 20 years from now, he could be Tom Brady or Jordan or Cory.
Correct.
Like it could be one of these guys, and you really never know, no matter who it is, you know.
Honestly true. It's honestly true. Hey, really quick before we hop off, tell the people where they can find you. Give us some social handles. Where you at 5 nights a week, 75 hours a day? Where you at?
Well, my IG is Jags 2020 with 3 S's, so it's JAGSSS 2020. You'll find me at least probably 3 to 4 days a week on Bluzz One on YouTube. So search what Bluzz Sports Cards, I think is all they search, right? And that'll come up on YouTube. And then if you want baseball, I'm not really on baseball anymore as much as I used to be, but search Bluzz Baseball on YouTube, of course. Then you can find Big Al on IG.
Yeah, they can
But
find me on IG. Bless
they can
Sports
find you on
IG.
there.
One
And they're
word,
calling
no
for
spaces.
they're calling for you on YouTube. They're calling for you over there.
They are.
But yeah, I'm on quite a bit, and I usually try to post, like when we're live and stuff. But obviously follow Bluzz Sports Card on IG, and you're gonna get a good mix of who's on, when, where, and all the other above.
Yeah, and a Jags with 3 S's 2020 is a good follow on IG. I recommend. Follow
Yeah.
approved.
Yes, your PC collection. Everyone's PC collection feels better once they see mine. Once they see who I collect, because we're not all experts, man. We're not, we're out here breaking cards. We're just opening cards. Like, just because I think Rui Hachimura is a good buy, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Duke could be like Admiral Schofield tomorrow. It doesn't matter. Like we're not experts. Like, don't let any breakers, or anybody honestly feel like they're experts, because none of us are. We're just out here. We're out here playing the same game as everyone else. Simple as that.
Well said. Well, Jags, aka Kevin McGee, aka Jags with 3 S's. Thanks for joining me, and we should do this more often for sure.
Absolutely, I'm always down. Hopefully, my allergies are better and I look a little bit more awake, more unzombified. But I appreciate you having me on, Big Al.
Yeah, later. I love Jags, aka Kevin McGee, aka Jags 2020, aka whatever you want to call him. He's probably my favorite breaker on Blez. He's a few people's favorite breaker on Blez, I know. He's got this like calming, cool swagger to him. It's weird. It's hard to explain, but he puts on a great show. He hits good cards. He keeps the room moving. He has good conversation. Like he's a top-notch breaker in my opinion. And I thank him for his time. It was a lot of fun sitting down talking with him. We shoot the breeze all the time at work. To paint a picture, I'm in the room next to him a lot. I'm breaking in one room, he's breaking in the other. And we'll leave the doors open and we'll just holler back and forth at each other. It's pretty fun. And LeBron Zions. That's for Kevin, a.k.a. Jags, a.k.a. everyone else that knows I do that. So I mentioned before we started that before the interview, that I was going to talk to you guys about figuring out how to know how much your cards are worth. And what's the easiest way to do this? There's really 2 ways to do it. I'm going to show you the first way today. I'll probably show you another way, another episode, because I want you guys that are really trying to figure out what your cards are worth to take this step first. This will help learning a lot of different aspects of what cards are worth and how to figure out, okay, well, if that one is only worth that much, then this one's probably not going to be worth that much either. So I'm not going to really waste my time looking at all of these, right? Say you stumble upon your dad's collection or whatever it is. So let's get into it. I'm going to look up this card here. It's Jason Tatum. It is a rated rookie optic shock Jason Tatum. It's an HGA 9.0. HGA is one of the many grading companies that are in operation. I'll probably crack this and get it sent to PSA or SGC. But let's look this one up. 2017-18 Panini Donruss rated rookie optic shock. Okay. So to do that, we go to ebay.com, okay? And now we're here on the homepage of eBay, right? Stick with me. We're going to search, like I said, it's a Jason Tatum It's right there on top, but I'm going to retype it in. Jason Tatum, rated rookie, optic, shock. Okay, search. Now you see, if I was, what people fall in the trap of all the time is, oh, wow, that's a $250 card? Because it's listed for $249.99 right here. Not the case, though. That's just what someone is asking for. That's what they have it listed for, hoping that someone would buy it for $250. You go down a little bit, $140, $80 non-graded, $90 PSA 9, right? So you go there and you see the listing is all over the place. The way to find it, don't fall for the trap of, oh, I got a $250 card. Oh, I got a $175 card. Oh, $150. You go down, right? Let's go back to the top. You'll scroll down on the left side all the way down to show only, and you're going to hit sold items. And now it pops up with sold items, okay? Now you look at this one. This is a PSA 10, so that's pristine condition, mint condition. This was a 9. Mine was a 9.0. You can't really see I'm small now, but mine was a 9.0 in HGA. This is $300. Only one bid, okay? So beware of that as well. Look at how many bids there are. If it's only one bid, it's probably fake. It's probably someone trying to inflate the market. Don't fall victim to that either. Okay. So now we're looking here, ungraded $61, 18 bids. More true value. $37, 8 bids on a PSA 8. So mine was a 9 in HGA. The grading company is they're not as respected, I guess, as PSA. So the resale value of this card won't be the same as a PSA 9, but an HGA 9 should probably go for a little bit more than a PSA 8. So as I'm scrolling down here, PSA 9, $72, right? Okay, so now I'm looking at that like, okay, if a PSA 9 went for $72 as recent as November 10th, then my HGA 9, probably about a $60 card, $65 maybe card. And you just keep scrolling down, right? And you'll see November 5th, a PSA 10, $217, 26 bids, okay? So you'll see that it's most important to know the value of your card by clicking the sold items. You know what? Let's do one more. Let's just do one more. Let's say, oh man, I just found my grandpa's collection in the attic, and he has a 1957 Mickey Mantle card that is pretty good condition, okay? So we'll look here. Let's just say it's, I don't know, we'll just say it's one of these cards. I'm just going to go down, like I said, to sold or completed items. And let's see what Mick. PSA 1, right? On a scale of 1 to 10, these cards are old, they're damaged, but that honestly doesn't matter. It's a 1957 Mickey Mantle. 43 bids, $223. Okay, so these are things that you can go and look up, and that's how you do it. You go to the sold items on the left. We'll do one more. We're going to go Mike Trout. Let's go what was his rookie year? 2013 Mike Trout. Sold items. Mike Trout, Topps Chrome, die cut, $15 sold, right? So let's say you find a Mike Trout. And what you really need to do, and I'm going to show the overhead one more time. What you need to do, the last step that you need to do is at the bottom of every card, it'll have the year and the brand type. So 2017-18 Donruss Optic Basketball. So if you're looking at a card that you found, you see Donruss Optic Basketball on the back, 2017-18. You look at the player name, Jason Tatum, you type that in. That is how you find out what your cards are worth. I hope that helps. Like I said, there's another way to do it, but this is the best way to start. It'll help you learn a lot of different ways to see what's on the market, see what cards are higher, what cards are lower. That was my thrown tip. I think Nick will probably put it up over here. Huh, Nick? Over here. And I hope that this episode was better than the first. I love the interview with Jags. I think you guys all loved it too, I hope. And up next is Who Wore It Best with Kaleigh Krish. And Mike and I want you to never forget. Don't forget how awesome you are. Mike and I definitely don't. See you guys.
What up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Who Wore It Best? Jersey Royale. I'm your host, Kaleigh Krish, and I am so excited to be back with you all. Now, for those of you that are new, thanks for joining the party, and let's get you up to speed. Each week, I will pick a number, and we will go through some of the best players to ever wear that number of any sport. And while the Big Four are great, there are still some amazing athletes to contribute to the game in softball, lacrosse, obviously soccer, and beyond. And I know what you're wondering. Well, how does she pick a number? Well, I'm going to let you all in on a little secret. On Friday nights, I throw little cute folded pieces of paper in a top hat with the numbers 00 to 99 on them. And then I pick one. And then I keep picking them until I reach the number that I've already been planning on doing all week, and that's how it works. All right, before we jump into this week's mystery number, I wanted to show you all a little something I got last week. Now, for those of you that watched, you'll know that I mentioned that the Green Bay Packers are my favorite team and that Brett Favre is my guy. Well, on Sunday, my pastor handed me this. Yep, that is right, Brett Favre's rookie card. How awesome is that? Shout out to Pastor Ryan, who not only watched the show last week, but for being so generous. All right, let's jump into the content. This week, we will be talking about the best players to wear the number, wait for it, 27. Now, can you think off the top of your head? Let me know in the comments. All right, I've got the top 4 players for you this week, so here we go. Kicking us off is number 27 NHL defenseman Scott Niedermayer. Scott was drafted 3rd overall in the 1991 NHL draft by the New Jersey Devils. As a junior, Niedermayer played 3 seasons with the Kamloops Blazers. In his first season, he recorded 69 points in 64 games and helped the Blazers win a President's Cup. The next season, Niedermayer scored 26 goals and had 82 points in 57 games and earned his place on the Western Conference All-Star team and won the Canadian Hockey League Scholastic Player of the Year. In '92, the Blazers rebounded to win their second WHL championship in 3 years. Niedermayer tied for 3rd in scoring with 23 points. At his second Memorial Cup, he would score 7 points in 5 games and lead the Blazers to a national championship and was awarded the MVP. In Niedermayer's rookie season with the Devils, he appeared in 80 games, scored 11 goals and 40 points, and was named NHL All-Rookie Team on Defense. Then in the lockout-shortened 94-95 season, the Devils would reach the Stanley Cup Final for the first time in franchise history. Niedermayer would score 11 points in 20 playoff games, including a key goal in Game 2 of the finals, and the Devils would go on to sweep the Detroit Red Wings in 4 games. Now let's skip to the 2003-2004 season, and oh, by the way, he won 2 more Stanley Cups in between that time. But the 2003-2004 season is where Niedermayer cemented his reputation as an elite NHL defenseman. Throughout the season, teammates and opponents gave him praise for really carrying the New Jersey Devils team. Due to injuries, Niedermayer averaged over 25 minutes of ice time per game. And if you don't think that's a lot, I challenge you to send me a video of, say, you doing a plank for 25 minutes straight. Yes, it's apples and oranges, but actually, it'd be really impressive if you could do that. I mean, I can only force myself to go maybe a minute, if that. Anyway, back to this guy. He also posted his second 50-point season, finishing with 14 goals and 40 assists. He played in his third All-Star game and was named first-team All-Star for the first time. And he again finished second in league scoring amongst defensemen, recorded a plus-minus rating of +20, and led the Devils to a modern NHL record low of 164 goals against. And for all this, Niedermayer was voted the winner of the James Norris Memorial Trophy as the league's top defenseman. In the 2005 season as a free agent, and despite the Devils offering him a longer contract, Niedermayer chose to head to Cali to play for the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim to, get this, try to win a Stanley Cup with his brother. Aww. In that first season with Anaheim, he would tally 63 points and was named first-team All-Star for the second time. That year, the Ducks would get to the Western Conference Championship, but would lose to the Edmonton Oilers. Now, the next season, Niedermayer would play his 1,000th career game. He set career highs of 14 goals, 54 assists, and 69 points during the regular season. He added 11 points in the 2007 Stanley Cup playoffs and was named the recipient of the Conn Smythe Memorial Trophy as the most valuable player of the postseason. And yes, the Niedermayer brothers would win a Stanley Cup together with a victory over the Ottawa Senators, Anaheim's first ever championship. Scott Niedermayer retired as a player on June 22nd, 2010, but we can't forget about the international accolades that he also earned. Representing Canada, Niedermayer had a gold in the 2002 and 2010 Olympic Games, a gold in the 2004 World Championships, a silver and gold respectively in the 96 and 2004 World Cups. Absolutely incredible. And he is the only player to win every major North American and international championship in his career. That's the Memorial Cup, World Junior Cup, IIHF World Championship, 2 Olympic gold medals, 4 Stanley Cups, and the World Cup. And to top it all off, as if that is not enough, the New Jersey Devils retired Niedermayer's number in December 2011, where it will forever be memorialized. All right. It is time to look at our next athlete to don the number 27 and bring Mr. Niedermayer some much-needed competition. And while Niedermayer was getting drafted in 91 and winning World Junior Cup championships, this guy was being born. Oh, that's right. Next up, we are talking about Mike Trout. His athleticism on the field has regarded him as one of the most outstanding players in the history of baseball. Well, we'll just have to see about that. Trout was drafted in the first round of the 2009 MLB draft, and while he had a slow start to his 40-game MLB stint in 2011, things would ramp up in 2012, and people would start to see what the buzz was all about. Trout recorded his first 4-hit game on June 4th, scoring all 4 times, and would get his second 4-hit game just 15 days later. In the same month, he would get his third 4-hit game. Now, okay, great. The guy can hit, but he can also play defense. Here he is robbing Orioles shortstop J.J. Hardy of a home run as he leaped up at the center field wall to make a spectacular catch in the bottom of the first. Trout broke both Angels franchise and American League rookie records when he crossed home plate in 14 consecutive games. By August, Trout had set the rookie record for batting average through 100 games. He became the youngest player ever to hit at least 20 home runs and steal at least 40 bases in a season, and the kid has had a lot of firsts. On September 9th against the Tigers, Trout became the first player under the age of 22 to hit a leadoff home run in back-to-back games. He became the youngest player in the 30 for 30 club, 30 home runs, 30 stolen bases, and the first ever to hit 30 home runs, steal 45 bases, and score 125 runs in one season. Now, Trout finished second in AL that season, batting average of .326, third in slugging percentage, .564, third in on-base percentage, .399, second in OPS, .963, and first in OPS plus, .171. All of this, of course, he would win the Jackie Robinson Rookie of the Year award, and even came in second in the American League MVP award. In 2014, Trout would finally get his AL MVP award. I say finally, yes. I realize it was only his third season in the majors, and he had come second in his first 2 years, so finally, he got it. He was the first player to win by unanimous vote since Ken Griffey Jr. in '97. What did he do to deserve the award? No, nothing. Just topped the AL with 111 RBIs, batted .287 with a career-high 36 home runs, and led the league in both runs scored with 115 and total bases with 338. No big deal. In 2015, he became the youngest player to reach 100 home runs and 100 stolen bases, surpassing Alex Rodriguez. And he led off the All-Star game with a home run, and for the second year would be named All-Star MVP. In 2016, Trout would be named AL MVP for the second time and joined Barry Bonds as the only other player in MLB history to finish top 2 for the MVP in 5 straight seasons. And I consider that 2016 MVP pretty special. I mean, he was up against Jose Altuve and Mookie Betts, and he beat them both while playing for a team that would go 74-88. Sorry. 2018 was an incredible start to the season. He had his first 5-hit game on March 26 at Yankee Stadium, 3 doubles, a home run. He homered twice in each of his consecutive games versus Seattle. And wait, what is up with this guy in Seattle? I mean, he's had his first major league hit against them. He hit 2 home runs in 1 game. The youngest player to do so, by the way. The youngest player to hit for cycle, and his 200th career home run against the Mariners. Anyway, in 2018, he batted .312 and was 4th in the league with 101 runs scored, 39 home runs, 79 RBIs, and 24 stolen bases. And again, he would finish second in AL MVP votes. At that point, the Angels knew what they had to do, and they signed Trout to a 12-year, $426 million contract, which at the time was the largest contract in the history of North American sports. In early September, Trout's season would be cut short due to a foot injury, but he would still take home the AL MVP award that year as he hit .291 with a 1083 OPS. He piled up career-high 45 home runs and 104 RBIs in 134 games. Now this past year, in a 5-game series, Trout would become the first and only player in baseball history to hit 4 game-winning runs during a season against, yeah, you guessed it, the Seattle Mariners. He would finish up this year with a .283 batting average, 85 runs, 124 hits, 40 home runs, and 80 RBIs. Now, in 2023, Trout is set to be the captain of the U.S. national baseball team in the World Baseball Classic. And who's going with me? Well, there you go. Trout's career up to this point already puts him in the running to be the best player to ever wear the number 27. And we still have 2 more players to go. How can that be possible? Here we go. Next up on the list, we have our first lady joining the battle. Welcome, Miss Jennie Finch. Now, normally I would never mention high school numbers, but these are too crazy not to. At La Mirada High School, she left with a 50-12 record, which included 6 perfect games, 13 no-hitters, a .15 ERA, and 784 strikeouts. That is insane. She would go on to play 4 years at the University of Arizona. In her freshman year, she would throw her first no-hitter during the NCAA tournament versus the Texas State Bobcats, but the team would be eliminated from the World Series in the quarterfinals. In her sophomore year, Finch would record 29 wins with a .79 ERA. Jennie also led the team at the plate with a batting average of .327 and 16 home runs and had 14-game hitting streak. When she wasn't pitching, she was at first base, recording a .983 fielding percentage in 287 chances. Jenny was named NFCA First Team All-American, First Team All-Pac-12, and the NCAA Regional Most Outstanding Player. She helped secure her team's appearance at the NCAA Women's College World Series, but would lose in the semis. Now, the next year would put Jenny Finch's name on the map. She started the season with 31 consecutive scoreless innings. On March 30th, she hit 2 home runs and doubled with 9 RBIs as the Wildcats destroyed the Oregon Ducks 11-1. That stellar performance at the plate would tie her for 3rd all-time in the NCAA for a single game. Finch and the Wildcats were the #1 seed heading into the NCAA tournament and made it to the World Series the 3rd straight year. Jenny had victories over Cal and Oklahoma to reach the finals, where she would face her favorite team as a kid growing up, the UCLA Bruins. Jenny pinched the Wildcats to a 1-0 shutout victory win to win the Women's College World Series National Championship. Finch set an NCAA record with a perfect season, earned Pac-10 Pitcher of the Year, struck out a career-high 14, and she did it twice. She had 3 Grand Slams, 11 home runs, batted .309. Let's just add most outstanding player in the College World Series as well. That perfect 32-0 season extended her undefeated streak to 40 consecutive victories, second most in NCAA record books. Finally, she was also awarded first team for Pac-10 and NFCA, plus the coolest award in women's sports, the Honda Sports Award. Now, this award goes out to 1 female athlete in each of 12 sports. Now, that means that Jenny beat out every other Division I softball player that year. Insane. By the way, she would win it again the next year as well. In 2002, Jenny's senior season, she would pitch a shutout against the Oklahoma Sooners, where she struck out a career-high 19 batters. The Wildcats beat the #1 team that year, UCLA, which would give them their 20-0 record to start the season and set the NCAA record of 60 straight wins. Finch would take her team back to the College World Series, but would lose to Cal in the national championship game. Now, Finch left the program with the career leader in strikeouts, shutouts, innings pitched, and tied for no-hitters with 8, while also ranking in the top 10 in most other pitching categories. She was also top 10 in home runs, RBIs, and walks, and she remains top 10 in several pitching and walks all-times lists. Finch's prolific career at the Women's College World Series included appearances all 4 years, a 7-2 record, 70 strikeouts, 3 shutouts, a 1.83 ERA in 65 innings, and at the plate, she contributed 5 hits, a home run, and 2 walks. In 2003, the University of Arizona retired her number 27. Now, I know that sounds like enough right there, but wait, there's more. In 2004, Jenny Finch joined the Team USA and headed to the Olympics in Athens, Greece, where she had a 2-0 record, striking out 13 batters in 8 innings while giving up only 1 hit, 1 walk, and no runs. Team USA would defeat Australia and win that gold medal. In 2008, Finch would be back again at the Olympics, where she pitched 4 no-hit innings in an 11-0 victory over Venezuela. Then she pitched 5 shutout innings in a 7-0 victory over Chinese Taipei, and 2 more shutout innings in a 9-0 victory over China. However, Team USA lost 3-1 to Japan, but still came home with that silver medal. In 2005, Finch started her National Pro Fast Pitch career with the Chicago Bandits. She was named NPF's Co-Pitcher of the Year, and with a perfect season extended her streak into 2006. Finch won 15 consecutive games with 104.1 innings pitched, allowing 51 hits, 12 earned runs, and 21 walks. She struck out 127 batters to post a .8 ERA. Incredible. On May 29, 2007, she struck out 17 batters and combined with Kat Osterman for a total of 41 strikeouts to set a single game record for the combined total. In 2009, she pitched a perfect game with the Bandits and added another perfect game to her resume in 2010. Now, having an impact like that in a league deserves to get your number retired, which is exactly what the Chicago Bandits did. They also, by the way, the stadium where they play their home games, yeah, that's at 27 Jenny Finch Way, Rosemont, Illinois, just in case you were wondering. Whew, alrighty. We have one more athlete for you tonight. And before I announce my winner, any guesses who the winner might be so far? No? Well, I'll tell you in a little bit. But first, our last athlete on the list takes us back to the 1960s and 70s, where the Dominican dandy made his name. Juan Marichal was a pitcher for the San Francisco Giants. Now, this guy was known for his almost vertical leg kick, his control and durability, plus his variety of pitches, including a slider, fastball, changeup, curve, and screwball that he would throw for strikes in a variety of arm angles, over the top, 3/4, or sidearm. Marichal won 18 games to help the Giants stay in contention for the league championship while they were neck and neck with the Dodgers. After being tied at the end of the season, the two teams played a best-of-3 tiebreaker where Marichal pitched Game 3, holding the Dodgers to 1 run until the 6th. The Dodgers would go up 4-2, but Marichal and the Giants would rally back, beating the Dodgers 6-4 and reaching the 1962 World Series, but would lose in 7. One of Marichal's most memorable games was a night game at Candlestick Park on July 2nd, 1963, the greatest game ever pitched. Juan Marichal dueled Warren Spahn, who was 42 years old at the time. The pitchers matched scoreless innings until Willie Mays homered off of Spahn to win the game 1-0 in the 19th inning. Both pitchers tossed 15-plus complete games, something that had not been done or before or since in the major leagues. Marichal allowed 8 hits in 16 innings, striking out 10, and saddling eventual career home run king Hank Aaron 0 for 6 that night. Spahn had 9 hits in 15 1/3 inning with 2 strikeouts. Now, Giants manager Alvin Dark offered to take Marichal out twice after the game had reached 12 innings. Marichal said, "Do you see that man on the mound? That man is 42 and I'm 25. I am not ready for you to take me out." I like it. He went on to earn 191 victories in the 60s and most of any major league pitcher. And in his career, Marichal had 243 wins, a 2.89 ERA, 3,507 innings pitched, 2,303 strikeouts with only 709 walks. That's a strikeout to walk ratio of 3.23, which ranks among the top 20 pitchers of all time, ahead of Bob Gibson, Nolan Ryan, Steve Carlton, Sandy Koufax, Don Drysdale, Walter Johnson, and Roger Clemens. Plus, he had 52 shutouts. His 26 wins in 1968 remains a Giants record. He was named All-Star 9 times, recording a .50 ERA in 8 of them, and won MVP in 1965. Marichal led the NL in wins, innings pitched, complete games, and shutouts twice each. Now, I can't talk about Juan Marichal without talking about one of the most violent incidences in MLB history. On August 22nd, 1965, the Giants and Dodgers were in Game 2 of a series, and again were in another tight pennant race, where the Giants were trailing the Dodgers by 1.5 games. Now, there's a little bit of lead up to the incident you need to know. 2 days earlier, Dodgers' Maury Wills was awarded first base after his bat hit Giants catcher Tom Haller. The umpire said that the catcher interfered with his swing. In response, Giants outfielder Matty Allo responded by holding his bat further back, getting a warning from Dodgers catcher John Roseboro after his bat actually made contact with the catcher. Now, there's the setup. So 2 days later, both teams are at each other's throats, back and forth, hitting batters or coming close. Both teams got a warning from the home plate umpire. Now, Marshall came up to bat in the 3rd inning, expecting Koufax to throw it at him. But instead, he was startled by Roseboro's return throw to Koufax that came so close to hitting Marshall he could feel the breeze off the ball. Marshall screamed, "Why did you do that?" To which Roseboro responded by standing up with his fists clenched. Marshall raised his bat and struck the catcher at least twice on his head, opening a 2-inch gash that would require 14 stitches. Koufax raced from the mound, and this cleared the benches, and for 14 minutes, these two teams fought. In the aftermath, Marshall was suspended 8 games. Yeah, that's only 2 starts. The incidents cost him a record fine of $1,750. That's an equivalent of like $17,000 today. Now, maybe the craziest thing of all is that these 2 players reconciled and became close friends in the 80s. Marshall even thanked Roseboro in his Hall of Fame speech in 1983, where he became the first Dominican player to receive the honor. And there you have it, folks, our greatest number 27s to ever play the game. Now's the time of the show where I blow your mind with my pick of the greatest player to ever wear the number, a battle royale indeed, where other athletes don't come out alive from behind my judgment. It's a harsh world out there. But enough of the banter. Who is the greatest athlete to wear the number 27? Let's get a drum roll, please. It's gotta be Jenny Finch. You guys, I know this may be a controversial pick, but come on. She put softball on the map for a lot of people. Her number has been retired by her high school, her college, and her professional team, and hell, they named the street after her. Her 2001 season is considered one of the best seasons a softball player has ever had. And one of my favorite achievements that shows the power she really has was at the 2004 All-Star softball game. In a little friendly pregame warm-up, she went 6 pitches with one of the best hitters in baseball, Albert Pujols. And by the way, this is prime Pujols too. First pitch, blazed in but a touch high. Second pitch, she was testing him. It was high and inside. Then a fastball. He swung and missed. Next pitch was outside, 3-1. It's looking like it's Albert's ball to crush. Next, fastball flew right over the plate, didn't connect, 3-2. Pujols adjusted, but it made no difference. He swung as hard as he could and missed. Sit down, meat. Okay. You say it's practice. Okay. During the game, Mike Piazza stepped in. 3 pitches, and he was back on the bench. Jenny Finch has not only proved herself as one of the best softball players in the world, but one of the best athletes with an incredibly dominating career. And there you go. Another Who Wore It Best in the books. As always, like and subscribe to the content. And remember, if you have a number that you want to see me have battle it out, just leave a comment, and maybe your favorite number will get featured in the next Jersey Royale. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week for more Who Wore It Best Jersey Royale.
Welcome to the second episode of Boozin' on a Budget, where we are mental about the fermented. All right, my friends, thank you for joining me once again. Just want to quickly review what I talked about in episode 1, which is what is Boozin' Budget all about. Boozin' Budget is about finding the best quality adult beverages for the lowest prices that we can find them. That doesn't mean we're gonna drink cheap stuff. We're just gonna find the best stuff that we can find for the lowest amount of money that we can find them. A model that's called QPR, quality to price point ratio, something that started in wine, but we're gonna apply to whiskey, rum, beer, all the way across the board. If you know what you're looking for, you're gonna be able to find the best quality beverages for the lowest prices that we can find them. It's the Thanksgiving episode. We're gonna talk all about pairing beverages for your Thanksgiving dinner. Beer, bourbon, and wine. I'm gonna give you recommendations on what to bring to Thanksgiving, the best thing to pair with the food, the best thing to pair with some of your family that you maybe don't enjoy being around, the best thing to pair with your backyard football game. We're gonna get into it all. In my segment, Binge Thinking, I'm gonna tell you all about how to start really developing your palate and getting your brain moving in the right way to really stop and be mindful and appreciate all the beverages that we're looking at. In my next segment, we're gonna talk about the drink that I'm drinking tonight. I should say I'm drinking a 2020 Pinot Noir from the Willamette Valley in Oregon. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Pinot Noir. Also, a little teaser, Pinot Noir is going to pair very well with your Thanksgiving dinner. We're going to talk all about that in the pairing segment, where again, I'm going to pair beer, bourbon, and wine. We're going to talk about why it pairs well with your Thanksgiving meal and price points. I'm going to start thinking about pairing, what that means to pair our beverages with our food. In the very last segment, we're going to talk about the next episode. It's going to be the beer episode. We're going to talk all about beer. We'll get to that at the end. All right, my friends, let's start out with the first segment, Binge Thinking. Now, before I do that, I got to pour a little of this Pinot Noir to get things going here. I want to just start about what it means to go from consumer to connoisseur. What that means to me is that we start slowing the process down. We're not just knocking back our drinks. We're not just drinking them at our party while we think about something else. We're not just doing shots. We're not just slugging down wine. We're gonna slow down. We're gonna slow down and be mindful about these things. The first thing I wanna recommend is, and this goes for wine, beer, whiskey, rum, whatever it is, if you're not smelling your beverages first, you're missing out on half the story. You want to use your nose to get a sense of what this is going to be like before it hits your palate. And I tell you what, we can smell way more than we can taste, and you want to start slowing down and smelling these things. The more you smell, the more you learn, the more you're going to start to pick up notes on your nose. You also want to use your eyes. Give your wine a swirl, give your whiskey a swirl. I wouldn't recommend swirling your beer, but look at it. What's the viscosity? What's the color? Take a little bit of time and slow down and notice these things before you drink them. You can apply these to all kinds of different things. And it's your first way to start really appreciating your drinks before you drink them. Another really good activity that you can do to start developing your palate, developing your nose, is go wine tasting. Go beer tasting, go whiskey tasting. Get a flight in front of you. Once you have your flight of wine, 3-4 wines, 3-4 beers, 3-4 whiskeys, start at one side, start left to right, and taste one. Cleanse your palate, taste another one. Cleanse your palate, taste another one. And do that from left to right, and then go backwards, go right to left. You want to take time and make sure that you cleanse your palate between each one. Let's talk about good palate cleansers. Well, water is a good way to cleanse your palate, but bread, unflavored crackers or nuts, anything that's going to kind of give your palate a little bit of a refresh without adding a bunch of flavors to it is a heck of a good way to cleanse your palate between drinks. You want to cleanse your palate so there's not lingering flavors from the first one you tried going into the second one. Another reason, though, too, that we go from left to right and then from right to left is when we're tasting certain things against each other, we really start to get a sense for how different they are. Different flavor notes, different nosing notes come out as we go across our flight. How do we cleanse our nose? There's a real easy trick to cleanse our nose. Smell yourself. Smell yourself? Yes, smell yourself. Don't smell yourself like this. Just kidding. Smell yourself like this. Smell your sleeve. Smell your arm. It resets our nose. We're used to smelling ourselves. So when we smell ourselves like this, it just resets our nose for the next smelling that we're going to do of our whiskey, of our wine. Another thing I want you to really start thinking about is, where do your beverages come from? Who's producing them? If it's a wine, what country does it come from? What region? Is it from the United States? Is it from France? Is it from Portugal? Is it from Oregon? Is it from California? Is it from Washington? If it's whiskey, does it come from Kentucky? Does it come from Tennessee? Is it a craft whiskey made in Texas, made in Nevada, made somewhere else? Start finding out where this stuff is made so that you can start to get a knowledge of this, a sense of where this stuff comes from, what regional differences may be at play in some of your beverages. This is huge in the wine world. Wine is all separated by regions, appellations, and stuff like that. We'll get more into that stuff in the wine episode, but I want you to start getting an understanding that regional differences equate to flavor differences. And it's really interesting. Again, we want to educate ourselves. We want to be educated about this stuff, not just to impress our friends at the bar, but to reduce our intimidation when we're going into the liquor store. We just want to know about what we're drinking because that's going to heighten our experience and our appreciation. Another thing I want you to start thinking about is micro versus macro. We're all familiar with, let's use beer as an example, Budweiser, Coors, Miller. These are all macro-produced beverages. Some of your wines, like your Kendall Jackson, your 2 Buck Chuck, your Carlo Rossi, these are macro-produced type products. I want us to start getting a sense of between what is produced maybe in a smaller producer, a craft beer as opposed to a macro beer like a Budweiser, a craft distilled whiskey as opposed to your Jack Daniels or your Jim Beam. Now, I'm not saying things that are macro produced are bad. I just want us to start getting a sense of the differences between these different production styles. Personally, I love to taste all the different craft stuff, the smaller boutique winemakers. To me, it's more interesting. And I compare those smaller things against the bigger producers. Another thing I want you to look at is what are other drinkers saying about this product? What are other reviewers saying about this product? Has it won any awards? Has it got a high rating on a wine review? Does it have gold medals, silver medals at the latest beer competition? In whiskey, has it been awarded medals? Has it won anything in the San Francisco Spirits Competition, the Las Vegas Spirits Competition? Doesn't mean you're gonna like it per se, but start getting a sense of what other people are saying, other reviews. Is this something you wanna look also at availability? Is there something that sits on the shelf in your local liquor store or grocery store that never moves, nobody ever buys it? Is there something in there that is constantly rotating, like there's only one bottle left or you can never find it? Start looking at these things, start paying attention to these things. You're gonna start to see trends. You're gonna start to see what's popular. You're gonna start to see what people are drinking. And you're gonna use that knowledge to find what is gonna work best for you, what you're going to like. You're just gonna expand your knowledge and get a sense of these things. Biggest advice I can give to you is to slow down. Be mindful. Take a moment to stop. Look at it. Look at the color. We swirl wine to oxygenate it. More about that in the wine episode, but give your stuff a swirl. Slow down, give it a sniff, and then give it a taste. It taps into a mindfulness thing. What can we really do to kind of get a sense of where this thing is coming from, what it's all about, what's its story, look at the marketing. We're going to educate ourselves, and that's just going to heighten our enjoyment as we continue to learn about the best beverages for the best prices. Welcome back. It's time for Drink of the Week. Tonight, I'm sipping on a Pinot Noir, a 2020 Pinot Noir from the Willamette Valley in Oregon. This one here, 13.4 alcohol by volume. It's a Domaine Lubachak. I got this one specifically because this is the Thanksgiving pairing episode, and Pinot Noir pairs extremely well with your Thanksgiving dinner. More on that in a few minutes, but first, let's talk about this particular Pinot Noir. This particular Pinot Noir, when I poured it and started nosing it, The nose has cranberry, cherry, raspberry, a little bit of oak, a little bit of wet forest floor. Little funkiness can be found in Pinot Noirs as well. On the palate, it had cranberry, strawberry, cherry, a little bit of strawberry shortcake, a little bit of vanilla coming from the oak, a little earthiness, incredibly enjoyable, very sippable, and that's very common of Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is a lighter to medium-bodied wine. It is fruit and funky, earth forward, lots of funky flavors like dried leaves, mushrooms, wet earth, wet forest floor, those types of things. Pinot Noir is something that people obsess about. Wine people obsess about Pinot Noir. It's a very temperamental grape. It prefers cool, dry climates. It's susceptible to different various things that can screw grapes up. So it's very hard to grow, which only adds to its legend. The epicenter of Pinot Noir comes from the French regions of Champagne and Burgundy. Excellent Pinot Noir can be found there. French wine is just on a whole nother level. We're going to talk about New World versus Old World wine. It's going to cover French wine versus some of the stuff we do in the States. But suffice it to say that Pinot Noir coming from the Champagne and Burgundy regions, that's the stuff people are really looking for. That's that high price point, highly sought after Pinot Noir stuff. Pinot Noir, a very, very interesting grape. One of the only red grapes that is used to make red wine, white wine, rosé, and sparkling wine. It's one of the main grapes used in Champagne. This grape is a rock star, Pinot Noir. If you've ever seen the movie Sideways, you know that the main character, Miles, is obsessed with finding good Pinot Noir. Throughout the entire movie, he's looking for Pinot Noir. He's definitely not drinking any fucking Merlot. If none of that makes any sense to you, and you're a wine person or you're interested in this stuff, you need to check out the movie Sideways. It is a classic cult movie for wine people. It's very well done. Paul Giamatti, one of my favorite actors, plays a hilarious role. There's a lot of learning in it. It's hilariously done. Sandra Oh is in that movie. So check out Sideways, my friends. You won't regret that. It's a hell of a good wine movie. Besides Burgundy and Champagne, you can find Pinot Noir coming from New Zealand, Northern Italy. It can also be found in Germany, Switzerland, Northern Italy, New Zealand, and Chile, among others. In the United States, wonderful Pinot Noir can be found in the Willamette Valley of Oregon. Willamette Valley is renowned for its Pinot Noir. Excellent Pinot Noir comes from Oregon, and one of the coolest things about Oregon Pinot Noir is that the price points are more approachable than the Pinot Noir that, say, comes from California. Where does the good Pinot Noir in California come from? Sonoma County, Mendocino County, Santa Maria County, Santa Ynez County, and two of my favorites in Napa Valley, the appellations of Carneros and Russian River Valley. I've had some excellent Pinot Noirs from there. Check out Carneros and Russian River Valley. So Pinot Noir has a funky little character. It's very unique. It's fruit forward, it's light, it's refreshing, but it's also got some funkiness, some dry leaves, wet earth, some mushroom funkiness. Also Pinot Noir known for its tart, refreshing flavors of cranberry, paired with your cherry, your strawberry. And these are all things that I actually found on this one. Better pour myself a little bit more. But this one came right out of the gate. And I right on the nose, it had cranberry, cherry, raspberry, wet forest floor, a little bit of earthy funkiness, a little bit of vanilla from the oak. Smelled really, really good. I'm actually really, really enjoying this one. On the palate, this one has some nice strawberry and cherry. Again, the cranberry is there as well. It had a moment where I was like, this stuff tastes like strawberry shortcake. Again, it has a little bit of that vanilla coming from the oak, and it just complements the fruit flavors so well. It's unique though too. It does have that earthiness. So given that this one it does have a nice sense of who it is. It has a unique personality, but it's not crazy over the top like a Cabernet Sauvignon. That's what makes a Pinot Noir incredibly good for pairing with your Thanksgiving dinner. This one goes very well with chicken and other fowl, fish, some ham. It's going to stand up to some of these bigger flavors, but it's not going to overcome them. So I wouldn't pair this one maybe with a real heavy piece of red meat, a real heavy steak. It's not quite bold enough to go with your steak. However, for your turkey, it's definitely bold enough without overcoming it. Also though, it stands up and will cut through some of your fattier stuff like your stuffing and your gravy. So Pinot Noir, one of the most highly recommended wines to pair with your Thanksgiving dinner. Also a crowd pleaser. It's not too funky that it's going to put people off. It mostly starts with the fruit stuff and has a little character that's going to satisfy the wine drinkers in your group as well. So you cannot go wrong if you purchase a Pinot Noir to bring to your Thanksgiving dinner. Go and find you a Willamette Valley Pinot Noir from Oregon, something from California, any of those things. If you want to spend a little bit more money, get something from Carneros or the Russian River Valley and Napa Valley. After all, it's Thanksgiving, spring a little bit. You can pay a little bit more money. You can find something really good for the $50 price point or below. If you really wanted to bring something special to the Thanksgiving table, spring for a $100 or more bottle of Pinot Noir. For Thanksgiving Day, I say you should pair earlier in the day, whether you're sitting back and watching some football or you're playing that family pickup football game in the backyard. That's where you're going to start with some of your lighter stuff with your lagers or your IPAs. Myself, I prefer a little higher ABV IPA. That's going to help to ease your numbing back from getting tackled in the backyard, or deal with your cousin who's talking shit because they beat you in the backyard football game. Earlier in the day, getting that palate warmed up, start with your IPAs there, start with your lagers there, and then we're going to move on to something a little bit stronger. All right, let's move on to bourbon, one of my favorite things. Thanksgiving and fall to me screams bourbon. The weather is getting colder, and bourbon has that Kentucky hug. What's a Kentucky hug? A Kentucky hug is that feeling you get when you drink whiskey and it warms you up. That's the Kentucky hug. We want that Kentucky hug as the weather gets cooler and we're warming up with drinks inside of our houses with our family and things like that. Bourbon, to me, perfect for sipping before, during, and after dinner. You can sip it alone, you can put it in a cocktail. Need to put up with your mouthy uncle? Bourbon. Need to forget about how dry the turkey was? Bourbon. Need to pass out on your grandma's couch because somebody else took the guest room? Bourbon. Bourbon can get you through the holidays. Thanksgiving is an American holiday and bourbon is an all-American drink. Bourbon comes from America. If it's called bourbon, it has to come from America. The perfect thing to pair with your American Thanksgiving meal. Now, my friends, considering our QPR model, our highest quality product for the lowest price that we can get it, I'm going to recommend to you the bourbon for your Thanksgiving dinner is Wild Turkey 101. Wild Turkey 101? Isn't that some bar shot rot gut whiskey that we used to take shots of back in college? No. Yes, but no. Wild Turkey 101 exceeds its expectations. It's one of the best bourbons you can find for the price point that you can get it. You can find yourselves a 1.75 liter bottle of Wild Turkey 101 for just about $30 to $40. Why am I recommending Wild Turkey 101? I love me some Turkey Bird. Why? Because it has a mouthful of flavor. Believe it or not, Wild Turkey 101, it is incredibly packed with flavor. It's unique. It has all kinds of stuff going on for it. So you can sip it, but given its high proof at 101, you can also put it in cocktails. It's gonna stand up and give a real nice flavor to your cocktails. And at $30 to $40 for a handle, you're not gonna mind sharing that with your mouthy uncle. You're not gonna mind pouring it into cocktails. You're not gonna mind people taking shots of it. It is one of the ultimate QPR whiskeys, bourbons that I can recommend for you. So it's Turkey Day. What better to pair with that than a little bit of Turkey Bird? Turkey Bird, baby! Turkey Bird! Turkey Bird! Woo! Turkey Bird! Lastly, my friends, let's talk about pairing wine. Now, as I discussed earlier in my binge thinking segment, Pinot Noir, an excellent option for pairing for your Thanksgiving meal. It's light, fruit forward, all that kind of thing. Gonna pair very well with your food, gonna be a crowd pleaser. But I want to take this time to talk about a little something different. What is that? It is a French wine that is called Beaujolais Nouveau. What is Beaujolais Nouveau besides a hard and fun word to say? Beaujolais Nouveau is a very interesting wine. It's a French wine that breaks all the rules. Most French wines are made to be barreled and aged for a long, long time before they are released to be drunk. In fact, we're going to talk about some of this stuff, but France, there are wine laws. You have to follow the wine laws. Most French wines, you cannot release them the same year that they have been harvested. That's literally against the law. Not with Beaujolais Nouveau. Beaujolais Nouveau is meant to be picked, fermented, barreled, and released and sold and tasted all in the same year. In fact, there's a Beaujolais Nouveau Day where they release these barrels of young wine, and that is the third Thursday in November. So this year was just this last Thursday, the 17th, was Beaujolais Nouveau Day. It's still recent enough. Go down to your liquor store, go down to Total Wine, wherever it may be, ask for Beaujolais Nouveau. This is a perfect wine to pair with your Thanksgiving dinner. Perfect because it has some legend. There are Beaujolais Nouveau festivals in France. This is a highly celebrated wine because this wine comes out and is again harvested and released in the same year. It's fresh, it's fruity, it's ripe. It is said that Beaujolais Nouveau gives people a little bit of insight into how that year was, what the vintage of some of those other French wines that are going to age for years and years and years. They look at Beaujolais Nouveau to tell them, maybe give them some clues as to what some of those other vintages or what that vintage is going to look like that year. It's a little bit of a clue. It's a little bit of a sneak peek into some of those French wines that won't be released for a long, long time. I tell you what, there are some crazy Thirsty Thursday parties in France when Beaujolais Nouveau Day happens. Beaujolais Nouveau comes out just about a week, as I said before Thanksgiving, making it a conversation piece, something that's sought after. However, Beaujolais Nouveau does actually pair very well with our Thanksgiving dinner because it's not over the top. It's kind of light-bodied, it's fresh, it's fruity, it's approachable in both the palate and the price point. You can go out and get yourself a Beaujolais Nouveau to pair with your Thanksgiving dinner. It's going to work very well with your Thanksgiving feast because it's going to complement your meal instead of overwhelm it. Also, being a wine nerd like myself, we talk about these things, Beaujolais Nouveau. So if you want to impress people, and again, we're just increasing our knowledge, Beaujolais Nouveau is an incredibly cool and fun wine to know about and drink. They're releasing right now. As this episode airs, the Beaujolais Nouveau should be hitting the shelves. So go out and get you some of that. It's going to be an awesome wine to bring and talk about at the Thanksgiving dinner table. Beaujolais Nouveau is made from the Gamay grape, which makes it fruity and fresh. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me on the second episode of Boozin' on a Budget here on TitanTV. I do appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward to next week's episode. What are we going to do in next week's episode? We're going to talk about beer. Beer. We're going to talk all about beer. I'm really hoping next week I can get my guest lined up too for my beer episode. We're going to talk about the history of beer. We're going to talk about the different styles. We're going to talk about everything beer. Beer. $20 for a 4-pack of beer now? Are you kidding me? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about IPAs. What's going on with IPAs? Some people are obsessed with IPAs. It's like IPAs everywhere. Every brewery makes an IPA. What is an IPA? We're going to talk all about that and why some people are obsessed and where that came from. We're going to talk about craft beer and when that started. We're going to talk everything beer. So join me again next week on Boozin' on a Budget here on TitanTV. It will be the beer episode. I look forward to seeing you guys then. Turkey Bird on Turkey Day is a match made in mashed potato and gravy heaven. Fruity Fresh. Fruity Fresh was my rap name in my, I used to be a rapper. Fruity Fresh was my name. That's a lie. Lie detector determined that was a lie. Is it like a full moon or something? Is like Mercury and Gatorade? Isn't there a Thanksgiving song? I think, there's tons of Christmas songs. Doesn't Adam Sandler have a Thanksgiving song? It's turkey on Thanksgiving! Or something like that. Boy, this is going to be one show to edit.